It's spreading out in China. They will cancel flights and put your town on lockdown. Not a pretty scene. It's a coronavirus world. But I'm against the antivirals. Asymptomatic cases, who says they will count now? Kafka-esque indeed. The cure is really simple. The cure is really cheap. Resist by Big Pharma. Give me an IV. Called ascorbic acid. No side effects are seen. Oxidative stress so long. Got me some relief. Patient feels alright. No contagion inside. Everyone feels so nice with CS. Now I'm corona free, easily, I'm super healthy, wow.
It's the no agenda swine flu minute.
Here's Hillary.
Is she going to do it? Maybe, she hasn't 100% closed the door.
But a Hillary run would be so delicious. Will it happen?
It's almost too delicious to believe, my friend.
And Ron, I think the key word here is not if she's going to run, but when.
She hasn't foreclosed the possibility. I guess she has not. That's what I'm saying.
Fueling speculation that she may actually run again.
Or I even think Hillary Clinton or Bloomberg or some centrist comes in here.
Could Hillary Clinton be running in 2020?
I'm not running, but I'm going to keep working and speaking and standing up for what I believe.
Hillary Clinton says she will not be running for president again in 2020.
They say the third time's the charm, right?
As I say, never say never. And I will certainly tell you I'm under enormous pressure from many, many, many people to think about it.
Is she going to do it? Maybe,
So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again.
So will she give us what we want? Another run?
I'm the President of the United States. I have all of the power.
Yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working, that's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Now that ain't working, that's the way you do it. Let me tell you, damn guys ain't done. Maybe get a blister on your little finger. Maybe get a blister on your thumb. We got to install microwave ovens, custom kitchen deliveries. We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move these color TVs.
A backup and a backup to that backup and a backup to the backup to the backup.
Move on, move on.
I'll do you, and then I'll do it.
Got to move these refrigerators. Got to move these color TVs.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
I should have learned to play the guitar. I should have learned to play them drums. Look at that mama, she got it sticking in the cameraman. We could have some. And he's up there. What's that? Hawaiian noises. He's banging on the bongos like a chimpanzee. Oh, that ain't working. That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing, get your checks for free. We got to install microwave oven, custom kitchen deliveries. We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move these color TVs.
I think that sounds pretty good.
Come on, man.
Tell you, but before I tell you that, let me tell you something else.
Now, that ain't working. That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. In the morning.
In the morning to you.
In the morning to those ships and shits and stuff. You just get a read on you? Give me a read. Give me a read.
Okay, let me spin. I'll spin.
Spin.
Well, let's see. We have glasses. Yes, there's some. Put them on. I'm making a read.
Spin.
There goes a slow-moving freight train with boxcars. Now, that's something you don't see every day. Very few boxcars nowadays.
That's right. It's all the cement, oil, other chemicals.
No, but no. There's the modular things that come in from China.
Yeah.
And there's a gondola, an old-fashioned gondola filled with scrap metal.
Is it gondola or gondola?
I always call it a gondola. I think a gondola, isn't that something that the Italians float around in the water?
No. A gondola is isn't that like a thing that's in the air?
A gondola?
Yeah.
There's another gondola flying overhead.
On a wire. Hold on.
I don't think so.
Hold on. Yeah, wait a minute. Gondola. Oh, no, I was wrong. No. A couple definitions. Long, narrow, flat-bottom boat with a high prow and stern using the canals of Venice.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Correct. An elongated car attached to the underside of an airship or an often spherical airtight enclosure suspended from a balloon for carrying passengers or instruments. So it's we're both right. You're a little more right, but we're both right.
But what about to hit the pronunciation button?
Oh, where do I find this?
It should be right there. There should be a little speaker or something, or you can look it up on their pronunciation website.
Okay, hold on.
Gondola. Gondola.
Oh, there's two ways.
Yeah, I figured there was.
Gondola.
Well, that's another thing is, this app, Car Gurus.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how you pronounce it.
You don't pronounce the app Car Gurus?
No, hold on. Let me see if I can find the ad. I saw it yesterday. I think this will be it.
This is valuable show material.
Fuck it.
People would rather visit me than shop for a car. And I'm a dentist.
Car Gurus, and the less painful way.
Car Gurus. No.
Car Gurus.
Car Gurus.
It sounds like a kangaroo offshoot.
I know, Car Gurus.
I've got a Car Guru. You do? Oh, yeah, I bought 2 of them.
I thought that was kind of odd. Car Guru. Yeah, they had a meeting about that, let me tell you.
I bet they did.
Hey, man.
I think it's a great idea, Ben.
Okay,
Let's go with
Frank.
Car-Guru.
Frank?
That'll get their attention.
Call
Some
it in.
asshole podcasters will pick up on that one.
We'll be viral before you know it. Asshole podcasters. Wow. Self-deprecating, man. All right, let's see.
Fat lady!
Yeah.
That
Woo! Here we go. Yes, it is that time once again. Whoop, there it is, the Valkyrie of the morning, and that is your bat signal. Go ahead, boost the toot, retweet that tweet. Episode 1217 of the best podcast in the universe is coming up next. Nailed it. Did I? Okay, quick test. Test
Adam
1, 2,
Curry,
3, 4. Perfect. That's how the pros roll. Yeah, it never gets old.
That's what you do, kid. You get in, you get out.
That's it. In and out, man. No post, in and out. Just get those levels right. Perfect. Woo! May sound engineer, get off that group. Here comes a 5K Tom. Sounds a little boomy today. What's going on? No, should be good.
Ready?
No. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. That's better. And yeah. And then yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, nuts. I had a cute line I was going to start with because of this delay. It momentarily erased that part of my memory. Sigh. Hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, February 16th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1217.
This is No Agenda.
Evaluating amygdalas and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where everybody's disappointed, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, wait a minute. Who's disappointed about what?
Yeah, Bernie didn't show up here. He's talking every place but in the Bay Area that I know of.
I'm sorry. I have no idea
Unless
what's
I'm out
going
of the
on.
loop, which is always possible.
I have no idea what's going on. What's happening?
What? Bernie's, it's Bernie Mania.
Well, do you have a clip? Can you back this up? I mean, I'm in Texas. We don't have no Bernie Mania here.
Oh, they don't. Bernie's not going to go to Texas. They'll hang him.
No, they won't hang. He's welcome in Austin. No, Bernie is very welcome in Austin. You know better than that. So what? He was supposed to show up for something? He didn't.
No, he never was supposed to. He's up in the Tacoma Dome.
Oh.
And by the way, that won't get covered. But I would like somebody in Washington. I don't know. I think it's maybe today, or it might have been yesterday. But if anybody can go to this event in the Tacoma Dome, I'd like to know if he actually fills it. There's any empty seats.
How many?
Because Trump's always bragging about there's no empty seats. And there's a line
thousands of people outside Tacoma Dome.
And there is usually a big line outside. I don't know why they're staying there. You can't get in.
It's a 23,000 seater.
Tacoma Dome.
Yeah,
it's a big venue. Yeah,
yeah, 23,000. I'm just looking at the.
Well, you said what?
23,000 seats.
Yeah, that's a big venue for a little dome.
Yeah,
it's supposedly for rock concerts.
Rock concerts? Yeah, hey. What rock bands have been there? Rock concerts. The Rolling Stones 2020 tour is coming through. The Tacoma Dome. It is. Of course it is. I can't believe those guys are still doing it.
I can't either.
It's amazing what they're doing.
Jack them up before they get on stage.
Well, I guess we could dive right into that. But actually, I want to do this up front because this always is at the end of the show, and I want to put it in the beginning. We talked about it maybe one or two episodes ago. This Ninth Circuit Court ruling about camping in cities, which was instigated by Idaho, and it went to the Ninth Circuit, and the problem is that there is people were saying we cannot just take these people and take their tent and move them away because that is equal to taking their home and therefore is cruel and unusual punishment. And this is what's been used in Austin and many other cities around the country to say, well, we can't ban this camping, which of course is happening on completely, in places where you're not allowed to camp. And so the Ninth Circuit,
which opens up another Pandora's box of if you go to a state park or whatever you do and you're actually camping.
Yes.
Can you just go camp anywhere now because, you can't stop anyone from camping anywhere?
Well, that's only if you're above the law. And as we learned on the last episode, if you have a job and you are functioning in society, then no, you can't do that because then we need to fine you and take your money. If you have no money, let them camp. So the Ninth Circuit tried to figure out what this would be because this is cruel and unusual punishment is a constitutional issue. It is part of what amendment is that? Do you know offhand?
It's in the Constitution, I believe.
I think it's an amendment.
I don't think so.
Let's see. No, I think you're right. Here it is. Cruel and unusual is a phrase. The Eighth Amendment. No, I'm right. The Eighth Amendment to the United States Constitution states that cruel and unusual punishments shall not be inflicted. So it is an amendment, the Eighth Amendment. Anyway, the Ninth Circuit couldn't figure it out. They kicked it to the Supreme Court, and here's an update.
Today, the Supreme Court denied without explanation the city of Boise's petition to appeal what's seen as a sweeping ruling in the federal Ninth Circuit from last year. That lower court ruled that Idaho's capital city was in violation of the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment when police here ticketed the homeless for sleeping in public. Now, cities in the West, from Idaho to Washington to California, can't enforce such rules against the homeless until they've found shelter for everyone who needs it. And most cities in the region don't have enough shelter beds on any given night, which means if they ticket the homeless now, they're in violation of federal law. Attorney Theane Evangelist represented Boise in its appeal.
And cities' hands are tied.
You want to say something?
Yeah, well, they make it sound like there's some law that's been written, but they're in violation of the Constitution.
That's
okay.
Well, by saying federal law, you mean? instead of. I think they actually mentioned at the end.
And don't have enough shelter beds on any given night, which means if they ticket the homeless now, they're in violation of federal law. Attorney Theane Evangelist represented Boise in its appeal.
The homeless?
No, it's against the law. You can ticket them, but not for sleeping. Camping in public. So no, you can't. At least
why can't you? Ticketing them is not cruel and unusual punishment. Does that mean all tickets are cruel and unusual punishment?
No, you're not. Then I might have to start the clip over. They very clearly say that if you don't have a space for them to go, then it's cruel and unusual punishment.
That's different than ticketing them.
No, let's listen again then.
Today, the Supreme...
And by the way, what are you and I really arguing for the courts?
Yes, I am. I am doing exactly that.
Today, the Supreme Court denied without explanation the city of Boise's petition to appeal what's seen as a sweeping ruling in the federal Ninth Circuit from last year. That lower court ruled that Idaho's capital city was in violation of the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment when police here ticketed the homeless for sleeping in public. Now, cities in the West, from Idaho to Washington to California, can't enforce such rules against the homeless until they've found shelter for everyone who needs it. And most cities in the region don't have enough shelter beds on any given night, which means if they ticket the homeless now, they're in violation of federal law.
So this is interesting. Is only if you can provide beds for everybody can you then start ticketing them. So it can't be just, hey, I got a bed for you. No, I have to bed for everybody.
Attorney Theane Evangelist represented Boise in its appeal.
And cities' hands are tied now by the Ninth Circuit's decision because it effectively creates a constitutional right to camp.
Major West Coast cities like Los Angeles are grappling with growing tent cities and the public health and safety fallouts from them. Many filed briefs in support of Boise's appeal. Evangelist says everyone agrees the solution is more low-income housing and services, but she says this decision makes it virtually impossible for cities to do anything in the interim.
And we have an outbreak of diseases and a very dangerous situation for people who are living on the streets and for everyone. And the city needs to have the tools available to deal with growing encampments.
In a statement, Boise's outgoing mayor, Dave Beater, said he hopes the city's next administration continues to fight in federal court to get clarification about how to comply with the law. That's seen as unlikely, at least here. The mayor lost in a heated election this month to a more liberal Democrat who had criticized the city for criminalizing homelessness. Maria Foscarinas heads the National Center on Homelessness and Poverty, which helped represent the Boise homeless who brought the case. She says the court has now affirmed that ticketing or jailing homeless people isn't working.
The solution is addressing the root of the problem, which is that people can't afford a place to live. People don't have access to the services they need.
Foscarinas hopes this news will force cities to stop turning to the courts and start finding long-term solutions.
There you go.
How about rousting them? That seemed to be specifically about ticketing them. By the way, it also brings up the kind of the logical conclusion to this sort of thinking, which is like, I'm driving my car around and there's absolutely no place to park. Can I just double park? And if you ticket me, it's cruel and unusual punishment.
Are you homeless?
No, I'm talking about I'm just taking the logic of the argument that if you can't, there's no housing, there's no way that these people can find any place to sleep or live, then therefore they can just park themselves wherever they want. Well, how's that different than me double parking when I can't find a parking spot?
I think that's a great idea. You know, next time you're up in Washington, you're visiting the fam, you should try that and let me know how that goes for you.
I will.
Of course, it's crazy, but there you go.
Cholera awaits.
And the worst part is this happened 3 weeks ago. I only found out about it now.
They don't want people knowing about this stuff.
No, we're too obsessed with Trump.
Trump.
We're too obsessed with that. So boring. You know, there were complaints. I saw some donation complaints. I'm like, I liked it when we had more European news, so I got you some good European news today, too. But I need to start off with this.
What was the complaints?
Not enough European news because it's all Trump, 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 and it's not. But it appears that way.
What we have in front of us, I don't even think I got any Trump today. I got one thing maybe.
I am concerned.
I got other kind of Trump ancillary news. Like this is kind of funny. Avenatti news is good.
Yeah, the rundown. Yeah, here we go. Hold on a second.
Michael Avenatti rocketed to fame 2 years ago as the attorney for porn star Stormy Daniels in her lawsuits against President Trump. But his meteoric rise was matched only by the speed of his catastrophic fall. Today, a jury found him guilty of attempting to extort millions of dollars from Nike by threatening to go public with claims that the shoe company was illegally paying high school basketball players. Nike denied that claim and said today the verdict speaks volumes.
He's in a bit of a state of shock.
Avenatti's attorneys say he plans to appeal.
Avenatti is Avenatti, and he's a strong guy, and obviously he's disappointed, but he's a fighter.
Avenatti used his fame as Daniels' attorney to dominate the spotlight as he excoriated President Trump for allegedly having an affair with Daniels and then paying her to cover it up.
But for the fact that he's president, he would be indicted on numerous criminal charges.
He even suggested he might run for president, but now it's Avenatti who faces numerous criminal charges. In addition to today's guilty verdicts, for which he could get more than 40 years, he is accused of defrauding Daniels in a book deal and defrauding other clients of millions of dollars. Avenatti has been held behind bars since January for violating his bail conditions. His attorneys say he's reportedly in the same solitary confinement cell that held El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord. They say he's being treated like a caged animal.
What a story. Chip, thank you.
What a story. No. That's only half the story, CBS. And I'm glad you played that so that I can play you the compilage of the lead up to the rise and subsequent fall of Michael Avenatti.
That somebody put this together.
Oh, of course. The Free Beacon. You gotta love the Free Beacon. They got nothing else but time on their hands. And this does fit perfectly in my rule of the media boomerang. If you abuse the media for your own personal gain, it will eventually boomerang back and hit you with at least equal, but often multiple times the force.
He's Donald Trump's worst nightmare. Michael Avenatti.
Joining us once again is Michael Avenatti.
Let's bring in Michael Avenatti.
Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti.
Michael Avenatti, thank you very much.
He's out there saving the country.
Don Meacham says he may be the savior of the republic.
You are something of a folk hero now.
I owe Michael Avenatti an apology. I've been saying enough already, Michael. I've seen you everywhere. What do you have left to say? I was wrong, brother. You have a lot to say. I am just dying to hear what you think.
These people all like you.
And the only person right here Donald Trump fears more than Robert Miller.
We think you guys are the tip of the spear that's going to take down Donald Trump.
Michael Avenatti's a beast.
Okay, that's true.
And
he's a beast.
He's a beast.
I hand it to her, and I hand it to Michael Avenatti.
But he has a bigger calling here. That being a lawyer is minimal compared to what he's doing.
No one has talked tougher directly to Donald Trump on TV than Michael Avenatti. And Donald Trump is afraid to mention his name. That's fascinating. Donald Trump is terrified of Michael Avenatti.
He gives Trump a run for his money more than anybody else, Michael Avenatti.
Existential threat to the Trump presidency.
The Democrats could learn something for you. You are messing with Trump a lot more than they are.
He has no doubt created sheer panic in Donald Trump's very fragile mind.
Michael Avenatti is laying down the law as guest co-host. And is he really thinking about running for president?
One reason why I'm taking you seriously as a contender is because of your presence on cable news.
You look at the field of Democrats right now, and Avenatti's the one who stands out.
If they decide they value a fighter most, people would be foolish to underestimate Michael Avenatti.
I've always said that they need a fighter. Look, I mean, we're going to continue to use the media. I think we've used it with great success. All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
So, therein lies a potential end of show, ISO.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
Just putting it out there. We'll see how you feel about that.
Why did he even say that?
He was off the rails. He really thought he could say and do anything. And thank God for YouTube. I will say, YouTube truly is much more important than anybody realizes. Not for, everyone to go on there and yell and left and right about what they feel or think. No, it's for documenting the media. Because you can get almost anything, anytime, pretty much on demand. And you can see the hypocrisy over weeks, months, years. It is really I hate to say it, but it does need to be protected. It's an important resource for the world. Otherwise, how we get all this? We'd never get this put together.
No, it's impossible.
The YouTubes.
And you heard in there Joy Behar over and over, and you also heard
Nicole
Maher
Wallace,
Larry O'Donnell. Bear. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Speaking of Bill Maher, actually, I'm worried. I'm a little worried about our fellow American citizens. And this, I think my observation of this started, and I believe I told you about this, when the young woman who does my hair, she started off like, well, Trump, he's a dictator. Aren't you worried that he won't leave the White House even if he loses, or even at the end of his second term? Do you recall this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Again, then I retorted with my common retort to that, which is, yeah, they said that about Bush. They said that about Nixon. They said that about Obama. On and on.
Yes. There is, and by the way, I believe your LibJo friends also say this, or have they mentioned the not leaving the White House bit?
Oh, I don't have that one documented. It's possible.
Maybe you can throw that one out and, lob that grenade, see what comes back. And I think what's going on...
They've been kind of on to me recently.
Gee. Okay. I was saddened. And I think what's happening is the leaders of the people who really, I'm not going to say the left, but just the people who really despise Trump and are afraid of him for all the reasons, have been mind controlled to such a degree that now they see that their leaders, and their leaders are Bill Maher, the View. It's not politicians. They look to, and I know that people watch Real Time with Bill Maher, and I think they're seeing that there's despair and they're broken. And I watched the reason I watched the Friday episode was because Amy Klobuchar was going to be the interviewee, the beginning interview. And but what happened there made me watch the entire show. I pulled a couple of clips. It's really sad what is going on here. Listen to Bill Maher with Amy Klobuchar.
So, okay, I'm going to ask this question because I ask it of every Democratic politician that comes on here. I'm saying you win.
Okay.
You win.
Great. I'm glad we agree.
That's different than him leaving. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to know. What is the plan? And I think we need to start talking about it now, because it's very hard for me to imagine you winning the electoral vote fair and square, and him sending out a congratulatory telegram. Great. So glad you won. We had a good match, and let me tell you where I keep the important papers. He's not leaving. These people are not going to give up power. What is the plan if he says, I find irregularities, the people who ran it in Iowa screwed it up again, I have to stay, it was rigged. He's already said this many times. What do you do then?
The first thing you do is now. You start now, and that is to win big, which I believe will help. And now, just don't. Secondly, come on, you win all these states in the country. It's harder for him to say. Secondly, you make sure that we have backup paper ballots. You push for those are my bills. You do everything to protect our election.
We're living in the era of fake news.
Okay.
And there's no facts anymore. It's just about power.
We have always had a peaceful transition of power in this country.
Always have had.
We have.
Correct.
And
we are now in a different world.
When you have the people on your side in a big way.
Oh, he has a lot of people on his side, the ones with the guns.
I think we'll do this. I think that the law, we have to unite on as a country is that the rule of law cannot handle 4 more years of a guy that thinks he's above it. Democracy
will you at least start asking the people in power, like the police and the military, what would you do if he said he wouldn't leave? Would you at least start asking them, get them on the record?
I think that...
Okay, all right.
This is sad that I don't know if he actually thinks this.
He sounds like he does. He sounds sincere. And it's a shame that she didn't say, Bill, you're acting like an idiot. This is not going to happen.
Well,
it's never happened before. And why are you thinking this way?
Luckily, when he sat down with his panel
By the way, does Trump have his own army? I don't think so.
Oh, I think you need to listen to some clips. When he sat down with the panel, which was comprised of Van Jones, who I like. I like Van Jones. He's interesting, and he has contrarian views sometimes. Some other nudnik, I forget his name, and Katie Couric, a former Today Show, a big NBC...
CBS host of the CBS Evening News.
Was she CBS?
In a big flop of a way.
Why do I think she was NBC? She was always CBS?
No, she was at the Today
NBC.
Show, and then CBS lured her away to be the anchor.
And then she went to Yahoo, and then we lost her for a couple of years after the Yahoo move. So I'll give props to Katie Couric because she jumps in. At the minute he sits down with the panel, he starts again, and she kind of pushes back.
Okay, I know I'm the crazy person because I say he's not leaving.
You're obsessed with this, Bill.
Yeah, it's only our country. I'm sorry, I'm a little obsessed.
No, but what has made you so focused on this?
Everything Donald Trump has ever done. I laid it out a couple of weeks ago. He said it himself. In 2016, he said when he thought he was going to lose, it's rigged. He doesn't accept any...
I guess the question I ask is, in countries where they pull that kind of stuff off, the generals turn out to be traitors. I have not seen any evidence yet that the generals are actually unpatriotic. If that happens, I think we're in trouble. But I think America's military would be happy to walk in there and take them out.
We'll see. Okay, well, maybe. We'll see. And it's all great that we're so happy with the hypothetical best outcome. Because that's what solves problems. Hoping and smiling.
So you think, okay, that might be enough? No. He can back up his fear, or he backs it up with assertions, but he can back up his fear that the military won't take Trump out if he refuses to leave.
Okay, so let me just say, the way dictators take over is they buy off different factions. You buy off the donor class, like with tax cuts. You buy off the business people with getting rid of regulations. You buy off the military. You're right. With some of them don't like him, but he gives them everything they want. A lot of money goes to the military, and then there's the police.
Here's what I don't understand: the list he just gave there. That's how you win an election. It's not how you convince the military to keep you in power. I mean, these are all things that are very obvious. That people would like these. Would they like their forces funded properly? They want the police respected, and that's to get them to vote for you. But Maher sees that as no. That's how dictators work. He's bought them all off. We bought them off. I don't know exactly how, but
this guy needs to be checked out.
Van Jones.
This is very irrational.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. This problem, this sickness has really gone too far. Van Jones pushes back again.
He loses, but he won't leave. And then who gets rid of him? The police? This is the police.
Well, I mean, I
get it?
I understand your concern. And I'm serious. And you can, bad things happen in countries, and people have taken democracy for granted for way too long.
Yeah, we're not that special.
Exactly. And I think we forget a democratic republic is the most rare and fragile form of government in human history. These things almost never work out.
Is that true?
No.
Why would he even say that? I didn't quite understand why.
It is a rare form because people don't like it because you can't do things like Maher is describing. You literally can't stay in the office if you're kicked out or if you're voted out. Not kicked out, but voted out. They're trying to kick him out. You get voted out. I mean, why doesn't he say the same? Well, if he gets impeached and found guilty, why doesn't he stay then, too? I mean, none of it makes any sense because the problem is the way the system works. If he stays he's not going to stay in office, and his office is not, he's not, maybe under some nutball circumstance, if you're assuming he's crazy, stays in the White House and they just wait him out, they starve him out. Meanwhile, Congress does its own thing. It's passing bills, and the new president signs the bills, and it's all that. It's, everything else continues because you can't stop that process, whether the president's there or not. I mean, Woodrow Wilson was in a coma for like a year while his wife was acting as president. This is just completely insane. And It's not a fragile system. It's a very, very strong system. It's just that people don't like to implement it.
And fragile form of government in human history. These things almost never work out.
Very fragile.
And that's why we have to be vigilant.
But about 90% of police support Trump. He is amazingly, and when he mentions, he says this outright. He says, we have the rough people. And then he mentions, I love this, the military, the police, and the bikers. Like if you had the whole U.S. military and the police, that wouldn't be enough. Let's bring in the guys with the pool cues from Altamont.
But look, it just shows you how little Donald Trump knows about the military in which he refused to serve. Because when you think of Jim Mattis, when you think of General Kelly, the so-called rough people, Marine and Marine generals, these are people, everyone I've known in the military, Van is absolutely right. They are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States. They are the most patriotic Americans. And they understand that the Constitution is not a formula for a dictatorship or for a man to extend.
Hey, can you back it up? He says that Trump doesn't understand these people, and he says he refused to serve. He didn't refuse to serve. Refusing to serve is refusing to serve, which I'm not serving. He got off on some deferment. That's different.
Oh, of course.
These are people, everyone I've known in the
military. Gershon from the Washington Post, I think.
Yeah, nerd with glasses.
Yeah, he's got the funny-looking glasses.
Yeah. Van is absolutely right. They are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States. They are the most patriotic Americans. And they understand that the Constitution is not a formula for a dictatorship or for...
Wait, did I not go back far enough to catch that bit? Probably not.
About the military in which he refused to serve.
There you go. Lies!
Marine generals.
Washington Post lies.
Yeah, it's the Washington Post. Thank you. Good point. These are the same people who have the lie database on Trump.
Yeah, that's just a blatant lie.
Yeah, I'd say.
The Constitution of the United States. They are the most patriotic Americans. And they understand that the Constitution is not a formula for a dictatorship or for a man to extend his
But they're also sworn to follow the commander-in-chief. They're sworn chain of command.
It's one of the great achievements of American democracy that our military swears allegiance to the Constitution, not to the commander-in-chief. And we do have, and all the way down.
What did the Senate do with impeachment? Didn't they swear an oath?
I'm sorry. It was...
oh, brother. He goes off the rails.
It was Brett Stevens.
Oh, it's Brett Stevens?
From the New York Times, yeah.
Oh, wow. They clones.
Yes. Thank you, Troll Room. Although you didn't have to be a dick about it. Wrong again! Thanks, trolls.
Gotcha. Well, he has the exact same voice as the other guy, because the other guy was just on NewsHour.
Well, thank God, and this will be the last one from the Maher Show, thank goodness... Van Jones brings everybody back to sanity, kind of. But already, my mouth was open watching this. Like, holy crap! He's saying it with such conviction. This is not the Bill Maher Act. He means this. He truly has some fear. And you hear the audience. You can hear pin drop. They're not hooting and hollering the whole time. They're like, they're worried. Enter Van.
You know, the thing I like about this conversation is this. Fine. You're assuming that the Democrats can win, and then he won't leave. I would like to talk about what it's going to take for your first part of your sentence, Ab.
Yeah, I know. Well, by the way, interesting. 44% of Democrats think the Democrats will win. No, we can't. 80% of the Republicans think they will win. And also, I saw polls. It's Bernie, Biden, and Bloomberg. It's 3 78-year-old white guys.
So this is very depressing for people who hate
77,
Trump.
By the way. That's another lie.
Lie. But this is depressing. And a lot of people watch Bill Maher, and a lot of people have been sucked in. And I think that they're seeing their leaders throwing up their hands saying, what? We're never going to do it. We got old white people. They're never going to win. Trump is never going to leave. We're in a dictatorship. And smart people are going nuts. Enter my Lib Dev. You have the Lib Joes. I've got a Lib Dev. a developer, and I know him quite well. He's the co-inventor of podcasting, Dave Weiner, and his most recent podcast included this bit. I think he was talking about the Rachel Maddow show. But just listen to...
They're being poisoned by these shows.
It's very concerning to me. I don't care if you hate Trump, I don't care. You're an American and you're sick.
Rachel Maddow, she had Timothy Snyder, who is a Yale professor who's written a couple of books lately about tyranny and about what we're going through and what history tells us is going to happen and how we should fight it. And so she is very fixated on now it has happened and it's no longer a threat, but we're living in a lawless country now. And she's right. We haven't seen the full effect of it. We will. Each of us will. And it may take a while, but we're not going to get off this path. Bloomberg or not, it really doesn't seem like we're going to get off the path. We're going to put in a good fight because Bloomberg is the next thing after impeachment. Is you've got a guy with infinitely deep pockets and the will to fight and the intelligence to do it intelligently. But it's too late because they'll stop him. They can put him in jail and they will put him in jail. Or they'll deport him. And Obama will go live in exile somewhere, and Hillary Clinton and anybody who is potential opposition to Trump will either go into jail or will go somewhere else. So that's where we're going.
This is an illness, and it's concerning. They're going to deport Michael Bloomberg? Deport it? What?
They're going to deport him somehow. Do these guys have any familiarity with anything that's realistic or the law itself or the Constitution or this country and how it operates?
Yes, of course they do. They're very intelligent people, but something has snapped. And you're right.
Something snapped if you think they're going to deport Michael Bloomberg.
You said it right. They've been poisoned. They continue to be poisoned, literally poisoned.
Yeah, their brain is being poisoned. It's being poisoned by Rachel Maddow. He named her.
Yep.
Lawrence O'Donnell's a good example. He was in that prominently represented in that last clip of Avenatti.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of them. Joy Behar's another one. She was a big hater. She had her own show for a while. Now she's on The View. And she's a terrible person. And she's the same age as Bernie.
I had a thought about some of this, particularly when it comes to social media, and it was just a passing thought, but it made some sense to me. What a lot of politicians forget, or I think people in general forget, that we are the United States, and the United States is, it's different territories. And when
it's a collection of states.
Yes, not the United People of America, United States. If you're in New York, and if you're from New York, and someone starts talking about anything, and I know that person's from New York, or there's context, like Dave Weiner, who lives, I think he just moved upstate, but he was in New York City for 6 or 7 years. I have a little more context about his thinking. If you know, when you see me on Twitter, which you will now because I changed my profile name, you see Adam Curry -Texas. You know I'm in Texas. You know I'm going to have a certain view. People have forgotten this, and certainly on social media. So when someone says, I hate the Bulls, well, let's see where he's from, and then you can, maybe he's from Texas, or maybe he's from Florida, the Miami Heat, whatever it is. And you immediately have context. But because we don't have that, people immediately just start freaking out over shit. And I think it should be mandatory, and I've done it, to put your place in your profile name. People have context what you're saying. I think it will actually make a little difference in the discourse online.
I think it'll make zero difference because I don't think people understand the basics. I don't think a person Trump's a good example. He's from Queens. They talk a certain way there, and he acts a certain way.
Not the same as Manhattan, by the way.
Not even close.
No.
And Brooklyn's also different.
So that's my point.
He's from Queens, which is the real middle class kind of brag about everything area where they have a certain pattern, a certain way of talking. They're very identifiable, and it offends everybody not from Queens.
Right. But I think it would be a little more helpful if people identified where they're from.
Yeah, I don't think it would help. I'll say it again. It won't make a difference.
Well, I am a social engineer, so I'm thinking it will work.
You're hopeful, is what it is.
I have compassion.
You found this very depressing.
Not
this
depressing.
Bill Maher thing
Not
is
depressing.
Dead serious.
Not
and by
depressing.
the way, if Trump blows in with a landslide in 2020, when he's going to have to quit, they're going to bring up the topic again. What if he doesn't quit? Well, somebody, by the way, and I wouldn't put it past Trump to do this just as a joke.
Yeah, it could be vice president.
Pass a law where he can run again.
Yeah.
Try to repeal the amendment that prevents the president from running more than twice.
Right.
And they'll put, somebody, by the way, there's a guy in Texas that puts that in, or a couple of people, Congress people that put that. They were putting it in during the Obama administration.
Right. Yeah, of course, we heard the same. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. I'm just concerned. I've never seen people who I know are intelligent, smart, learned. I've never seen this type of behavior. So I'm not.
Hey, Putin's calling the shots.
I'm not. Well, they didn't even say that.
No, that's what they're thinking.
But it's truly and they are being poisoned. You said it. That was the best way to look at it. They're being poisoned.
Yeah.
And of course, it happens on all sides. But maybe people hearing this will take note. You're being poisoned.
Well, one of the reasons that we do this show is to try. We're the antidote.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, the anecdote.
That's, I think, more the anecdote than the antidote. Yes. So on the other side, of course, there's
How many sealed indictments there are? More than 100,000.
Yeah, we're getting close now. We're getting real close. Brennan showed up because, now we have the Durham report. There's hundreds of thousands of sealed indictments going to jail. Brennan shows up on, I think, CNN or the MSNBC, of course, because he's paid. He's paid.
He's getting paid
on hardball. And so the allegation is, by the way, the New York Times had an interesting article about the allegation that, and I'm summarizing, CIA knew what they wanted and they just kept poking and fishing and trolling until they got enough pieces to put together to try and make this Russian collusion stick. And so in this piece, the New York Times actually buried the information that some of the stolen emails that have been recovered included emails from President Obama. It's buried in that story, which is, of course, it should be a huge one.
It should be up high. You should push that to the front, not to the back.
No, it was
these guys are corrupt.
Completely buried. And but here's Brennan appearing on Chris Matthews to, of course, laugh off this nutty investigation.
Now the New York Times is reporting that the ongoing investigation into the origins of the Russian probe itself also appears to be driven by Trump's political interests. According to people familiar, the U.S. attorney leading that inquiry, John Durham, appears to be pursuing a theory that the CIA, under its former director, John Brennan, had a preconceived notion about Russia or was trying to get to a particular result and was nefariously trying to keep other agencies from seeing the full picture. However, FBI and NSC officials, quote, have told Mr. Durham and his investigators that such an interpretation is wrong and based on a misunderstanding of how the intelligence community functions. Let me ask you, Mr. Director, how do you respond to this inquiry?
Well, I think it's kind of silly. Is there a criminal investigation now on analytic judgments and the activities of CIA in terms of trying to protect our national security? I'm certainly willing to talk to Mr. Durham or anybody else who has any questions about what we did during this period of time in 2016. And so I don't know what I have not talked to him yet. I understand that I'm on his list of people to be interviewed, but it clearly, I think, is another indication that Donald Trump is using the Department of Justice to go after his enemies in any way that he can. People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Okay. Words to live by.
By his own words, he's guilty.
Words to live by, Mr. Brennan. We'll play that again.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Yeah, that's the American way. Thank you, John Brennan. So the New York Times article headline, Justice Department is investigating CIA resistance to sharing Russia's secrets. Now they've kind of made it that. Well, we didn't want to share because, we didn't want anything to leak out. And
that's a good one.
And the funny, and I don't have a clip, but I've heard many people say, this special investigator, he's like some dude from Connecticut, Trump threw him in there. It's like, who is this guy? It's worth looking up. John Durham, and he is indeed, he was appointed in February 2018 to the District of Connecticut, United States Attorney. But he's known for leading an inquiry into allegations FBI agents and Boston police had ties with the mob. That's the Whitey Bulger case.
Oh, yeah. 2005
CIA interrogation tapes destruction. That is the current director of CIA. Was it Gina? Is it Haspel? No, what's her name?
Haspel, yeah.
So that he investigated. He's a crime buster. He has done some significant cases. Significant.
Yeah, the Whitey Bulger case.
Also the torture investigation.
Yeah.
The enhanced interrogation. Now that doesn't mean that this guy isn't,
it sounds like he's a guy that can do the job.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that Barr is clean. I mean, I keep seeing people saying, "Oh no, this is great. He's going to do it." Thousands of sealed indictments. And, no. Barr's dad hired Jeffrey Epstein at the school he was principal of or director. I mean, there's connections with Barr and Mueller. They work together.
Of course they did.
These are cover-up artists.
Everybody works together eventually.
The question is, they're going to have one or two are going to go down, and everyone else will be saved. So there's going to be sacrificial lambs.
Well, since you brought this up, I have one annoying clip. I might as well get it out of the way.
Oh, yes. We love annoying clips.
It's annoying to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching the PBS NewsHour, and they have Mark Shields and Brooks. Brooks is out. He's taking the day off, and they put the guy from the Washington Post in, who I thought was under Bill Marshall, because they have the exact same voice. Coincidentally, there's the guy in the New York Times who you were called out for making a mistake, even though it's my mistake. And I should mention the fact that they have the exact same voice and they wear goofy glasses.
Milieu, yes.
So they're both the same kind of guy. But Shields, at the very end of the thing, it's a two-parter, and this again relates to everything you've just played. Shields says the following. This is Shields, the worst. This is the worst part one PBS, and just listen to this. These guys, and I mean, Mark Shields is 82 years old. He's an old liberal. They can't get this out of their craw. They can't get it out of their craw. What is it? Play the clip.
Mark, just a few seconds.
A few seconds, Judy. I mean, here's a man who's pushing prosecutors to prosecute James Comey and Andrew McCabe, and intervenes for Mike Flynn and for Roger Stone. Why Roger Stone? I think there's open speculation and very plausible. Roger Stone's the one person that could tie Donald Trump to WikiLeaks and to the Russians in the 2016.
You mean after all that investigation?
After all that investigation. I mean, that's what he did. That's what he was lying about. He was the intermediary. And I think that it's not out of loyalty or affection. I think it's out of vulnerability. He's still concerned with that 2016 election rather than worried about 2020.
I don't think that's
Are you kidding me?
I don't think that's true. There's no defined link between WikiLeaks and Stone, is there?
Well, yeah, he contacted him once, and it's possible he had some relationship, but it's got nothing to do with anything. This is all dreamed up. The Russia collusion thing, they can't get it out of their craw.
No.
Trump is more concerned about 2016 than 2020?
Yeah,
is
sure.
That right? You think that's true? What kind of nut are you?
Well, he's spreading...
By the way, this guy's getting paid good money by PBS to spew this unbelievable paranoid garbage. This is conspiracy theory to the max. It's unbelievable that this would be on the air.
And it's part of these. It's like a virus. It's part of the sickness. He's spreading more.
He's definitely part of it. But listen to the second part, and you can get a better clue, and you get the resignation part of it, which is what you've been observing. The resignation that we're all subject to this tyrant character with the red hat.
Judy, how do you feel if you're Susan Collins, if you're Rob Portman, if you're Joni Ernst and said, oh yes, we voted to acquit, but he's going to change. He'll be chastened. He'll be chastened. I mean, this is the new chastened Trump. I mean, he's unburdened and unfettered and scary.
Scary.
Orange man bad.
Very scary. I'm laughing, but it's really sad. This is PBS. These are people that matter when they say stuff. By the way, I didn't know he was 82. He looks pretty spry for 82. I'll give him that, Mr. Shields.
Well,
no,
I think he's erudite for 82. So there you have it. I mean, except for the fact that he's lost his marbles.
Yeah.
And he can't think straight. And he's just a Trump hater. And when he starts shaking when he talks about Trump. I mean, these guys are just, they're unhinged.
Well, what happened, the way I see it, is after the Senate vote, the not guilty verdict, then it was like everyone just went, even though they knew it was going to happen, I guess they still had some hope that maybe, you know, there was some coalition, and maybe Mitt Romney even said, hey, I'm going to do it. Let's see if I can get anyone else on board, or whatever happened. There was the letdown was much larger than I expected it would be for certainly for media types. I mean, I watched Rachel Maddow. It wasn't even clippable. It would take 30 minutes just for her to say boo-hoo. I mean, that's really what it came down to. And it's disturbing. I feel bad.
Well, let me add a little element to your thing before you finish, which is these are the people that are supposed to be decoding things for the public at large.
Yes.
And they're supposed to be doing it in an accurate way. But they're so blinded by their own prejudice and bigotry that they can't do it.
No.
I mean, they're supposed to be the ones telling us, oh, here's what's going on, and now you can go back to work. I mean, that's what it's basically what the news media is supposed to do. Here's what's going on. Now you should feel better. You can go back to work. You know what's going on.
Yeah. That's
it. But they can't even do that. The simplest of jobs. They can't do it.
Meanwhile, I believe it's only a trial balloon, but I'm pretty sure I said that we needed to be on the lookout for Michael Bloomberg to invite Hillary Clinton to be his vice president. And that's exactly what the rumor was, according to people familiar with the matter, which I took to be.
There was a million tweets about this, and they were going, oh, you guys are right. I get some credit. I guess I don't remember doing it, but you did. And they go, oh, and then they always play the clip. He says, Michael Bloom wants Hillary. He wants Hillary. But if you read what actually happened, all the reports say he's considering Hillary.
Yeah, it's a trial balloon.
That doesn't mean anything. No. I'm considering Hillary.
No, but I'm not arguing that. If you heard what I said.
No, I'm not arguing about you.
No.
I'm talking to the public that's all jacked up about this.
It's a trial balloon, and I think it went over reasonably well, actually. I think
Never
it went.
Happened.
I think it went over pretty well.
You can't have two. You're not going to get two people from New York on the same.
Well,
ticket.
no, that's actually
so unbalanced.
That's not even allowed. I think there's a constitutional issue with being from the same state.
I don't think it's true. I heard that too, but I don't see any evidence of it.
Yeah.
And besides that, she just happens to, just move to Arkansas for the week.
Yeah.
But it's beside the point. There's no way that two New Yorkers. First of all, all these liberals in particular bitch and moan about Trump. He's a New Yorker. What, are they going to get two now instead of one? At least we had a little bounce with Pence being from Indiana.
Oh no,
no.
Oh no.
But it's ludicrous to think.
John, thank you. You're making my point for me. It's ludicrous. Why is it ludicrous? Look at who is saying they're unhinged. They have lost their minds. So, I mean, here's two clips, one from MSNBC, one from CNN, and this is really the title of these clips should be What are we going to do about Bernie? Because they're already massaging and positioning what is going to happen. Now, there were some changes made to this process, the Democratic primary process, whereas the superdelegates, who are the elites who screwed Bernie over in 2016, they don't come in until a second round. And no one has explained exactly what that means. But from what I understand, you have to have your 1,500 delegates or whatever the exact number is. If you don't have it, then it goes into a round of chat. And if we don't fix it, then we go into a round another chat. But that's when the superdelegates come in. And so the goal, of course, is to have the superdelegates or the elites just determine who's going to run for the Democrat Party. That's what it is. Look at who these superdelegates are. So here's Chuck Toddcast and the panel talking about Bernie.
This is a part of the campaign that we never had to worry about 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I think the question becomes, what if we get to the convention and Bernie Sanders does not have anywhere near a majority, but he has a plurality. He has 35, 37% of the delegates, and he goes to the convention and says, I won more primaries than anyone else. I have more delegates than anyone else. I dare you to deny me the nomination.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Right. You don't have superdelegates anymore. I mean,
on the first ballot.
At least on the first ballot, you don't have the members of Congress who would be the elders. I mean, that was exactly the reform that the Bernie Sanders people demanded.
Hey, you're way off. It's not the elite.
It's the elders.
It's the elders.
Oh, my goodness. And that was Andrea Mitchell. That's Andrea Mitchell saying this.
She's an elder.
Totally. She and her hubby Greenspan, they are...
Yeah, they're both in their 80s, and they're both elders.
They consider themselves to be the village elders. They will take care of it. But no, they have to wait a second round. Let's see how CNN does.
Remember, the last nominee to go in who actually had the majority was John Kerry, if you remember. 2008, Hillary had to send her votes over. The same thing happened in 2016. Sanders had to send... The last one who's actually gotten this on the first ballot, people forget, is John Kerry in 2004.
But of course, the change in rules relative to superdelegates not getting a say on that first ballot this time, but having a say for the subsequent ballots, if it comes down to that, who knows?
Generally, it never does. I mean, this is more of a mythical thing on these superdelegates. Sure. It really doesn't. But let me say, if someone goes in and has the most delegates, and the superdelegates change that,
that's a disaster.
Forget it.
I think
go home, burn the house down.
Yeah, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And
well, I think you're correct. They're setting us up for this scenario.
Yep.
That's why they're discussing it almost exactly the same way as though some memo went around.
As often does happen in these circles.
So they're setting us up. So the convention, they expect to be a brokered convention. Now, I wonder, I think Bernie can win outright, but not if they're going to not if Bloomberg is involved. This is the guy that's going to screw things up for everyone.
Yeah.
He's coming. He's not going to debate because he probably can't debate.
Shit, if we were advising him, we'd tell him not to debate. Do whatever you can to not debate.
Yeah, no.
Get out of
that
it.
kind of bankroll, just keep spending money.
Don't do it, yes.
And apparently somebody was talking about in Virginia where he's also dropping lots of money for his campaign. He's also running those Obama ads, which is the ones he's running those a lot here.
Yeah, where it looks like he's vice president.
He looks like he's vice president. It's hilarious.
Well, we have the now already, and I hate to burst your bubble. We'll know by Tuesday. Biden is not going to win South Carolina. He's just not. And I can tell you that the main problem is, again, the spoiler, Michael Bloomberg. He is out there with Mike for Black America. I mean, huge signs. He's meeting ADOS everywhere. Mike for blacks. Woo! Mike, way to go. And
by the way, I want to mention I watched the Mike for Blacks event. And in the background is all blacks. It was maybe one Chicano. And then, but I started noticing the background. So I've talked about this before. I
just want to savor that you said the blacks and one Chicano. It's just an era that I love, John. It was
one guy. And but it was all blacks, and they were all like, there were a lot of them mustachioed. They're all a little older.
I saw a lot of whites in the Black for America too. A lot.
Yeah, I'm going to take a screenshot. I'm going to look at it again. But the one that really got me, because I've started noticing the backgrounds, and I don't know if it was, I think it was Reagan who first started doing this in their speeches, where they would put a background of people, which they never used to do. You never saw that with Kennedy, Nixon, Eisenhower, nobody. But Reagan started making it. He was more show business. He put the background of people back there.
Yes.
He started by putting military, and then he just made it everyday people. And Trump is taking it to the next level. Trump always has at least 4 women who are attractive, or at least catch your eye.
Wearing the Women for Trump shirts.
They got a Trump hat, and they got a Trump shirt. They have a Trump sign, maybe. There's usually one blonde who's pretty good looking, and she's right there in view, like around his head. So you have to start looking at her. You don't see. You stop watching. She's like a scene stealer,
and rightfully so. It's much better than
the Mussolini.
Orange Man bad.
Exactly.
So and there's a couple others usually, and they're just so enthusiastic, and they're very tend to be, and often are quite pretty. So I checked out Bernie's group behind him. I'm telling you, if you look behind on a Bernie thing, this last one in particular, it's everybody's over 70, and they're all old farts. It's like a ton of old farts and old battle axes, and they're all behind Bernie, shaking their fists every time Bernie says we got to stop the 1%. I have a clip from Bernie's little thing here, which is where I saw these battle axes.
Hold on, let me play a little jingle.
Why doesn't Bernie say?
Oh, I don't. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Never mind my jingle.
Well, what was it going to be?
We had a song. I can't find it. Don't worry about it. We'll just keep going.
Well, I don't see the Bernie clip on here.
You don't see it?
No.
Well, then, why don't you, let me just, while you're maybe looking.
No, I'm looking and looking. I'm not seeing it on here.
Well, I just wanted to say that Bloomberg is going all out. He's, as you said, he's got the ads where he's vice president to Barack Obama, and he's getting endorsements. ADOS former Columbus mayor.
Mike likes Mike.
A big endorsement for Michael Bloomberg, who has ignored early primary states and focused on states like Ohio. Former Mayor...
Hey, this sounds like she could be Jeff Bezos' sister.
Michael Coleman said it's his past relationship working with Bloomberg and Bloomberg's experience as mayor of New York that has him sold on the billionaire candidate.
And the thing about being a mayor, you're the closest to the people. People pick up the phone, they come to you, they say, this is my problem. This is what's going on.
But it's Bloomberg's time as mayor that has drawn criticism from voters, particularly the city's stop and frisk police policy that disproportionately impacted people of color.
I think it's a fair criticism. But, the true test of leadership is to own up to your mistakes and to take responsibility for the mistakes you've made in the past.
But some don't think he owned the mistake soon enough. It took years after his time in office for Bloomberg to apologize for the practice. Coleman says he wishes the apology came sooner, but still believes it's a sincere one, and believes African American voters, who any Democratic candidate will need in 2020, should feel the same.
Not only has he owned it, he has said we're going to go after the African American vote, and we're going to make a difference in African American communities in a positive way.
There was one little bit of, I don't know if you found the clip yet, but there's one bit of data.
No, I'm not going to find it. I remember producing it. I just don't have it on here.
So one bit of data, and I tried to clip it from Giuliani on someone else's podcast, but it's just, forget about it. It's not worth, it'd be 20 minutes and you still wouldn't get what he's saying. Giuliani started Stop, Question, and Frisk in New York City. And it was very successful. And the numbers is what's interesting, the contrast between Giuliani and I was in New York when Giuliani cleaned it up, and he did a fantastic job. It was Stop, Question, and Frisk. And they stopped and questioned 100,000 people in a year. And 50% indeed had a weapon on them, were in the process of a crime, committing a crime, or had some reason to actually be frisked and subsequently taken in. 50%. And that was a very successful program. When Bloomberg came in, he started, it went from Stop, Question, and Frisk to Stop and Frisk. And no one remembers that it was stop, question, and frisk. In fact, I think that's one of the egregious parts of Bloomberg's tape is that he said, you got to throw him against the wall. Because he's a horrible person thinking that.
Yeah,
totally. But the numbers is what bothers me. The numbers went up to 600,000 people stopped and frisked in New York on an annual basis, but only 10%. So marginally a little bit more than the 100,000 with stop, question, and frisk, but he just threw it all against the wall, totally harassed citizens, and really got the same results. But 6 times as many altercations between the law enforcement and citizens. Bloomberg is a dick. He does not care.
Bloomberg is the Nazi.
He is. He does not give a shit.
Democrats now think it's their savior.
He does not give a shit about
this guy.
Exactly. He doesn't give a shit about anybody. I don't think he cares about anybody, no matter what color they are. It's just that they hey, stop drinking sugary drinks because I got to tax you because you're too dumb.
He also took salt off the table, if you remember that.
Yes,
one.
because you're too dumb to regulate your own diet. Stupid people, dumb. That's who they're now all jitty about. Very disturbing. Very disturbing.
It's more than disturbing. And they see him as a great savior because he's got deep pockets.
Because he's got money. Yes. Oh, that's the worst.
Well, he is definitely. Again, we have to stop for a split second and realize that a lot of this slant is because of the money and because of the media and because of the media's need for that money.
Absolutely.
So we may be, fooling ourselves with his popularity seemingly what it is because the media is going to push the guy, promote the guy, because the media gets lots of money.
He has single-handedly raised the price of advertising rates around the country.
Yes. He's buying up time left and right. And now, if he goes to a couple of primaries, or I guess he'll be in a couple, he's going to be in the Cali, and he just bombs out, and he just says, "I'm just wasting my money." And pulls out, boom, the roof will cave in, and the heel will be excoriated.
Well, what everyone is hoping is that he will continue, just like in 2018 when he poured at least $100 million into 24 House races, and 23 of them flipped from Democrat to Republican. I mean, it can be done. From a Republican to Democrat. It can absolutely be done. Americans, I love us, but we elect our leaders, our representatives, the same way we buy our washing powder. It's like, I saw that ad again. I was talking to... I was talking to my Mexican friend. Well, he's not American yet, but he's Mexican. And
he's Mexican.
And I always like to say, okay, so what's going... I'm Jose. He was at the wedding. I say, Jose, what's going on? Who are people talking about? He says, well, Mexicans, and that's in our language that means illegals in the construction business in Austin. He said they don't like Trump. They do not like Trump. He says Mexican Americans. He says, like my son, yeah, they kind of have some, not everything, but they like some Trump. And I said, okay, how about Bernie Sanders? He said, yeah, young people are excited, but older people not so. Say, how about Michael Bloomberg? Yeah, Michael Bloomberg. Yeah, I hear good things. How about Pete Buttigieg? Who? I said, Pete Buttigieg. Who? I said, the gay guy. No. They hasn't even heard of him. So Bloomberg come with the amount of advertising and exposure he's been able to purpose, he is already beyond Buttigieg. In my completely scientific but very small poll.
Yeah, source one.
Small poll.
Poll of one.
Well, no, he was representing a whole slew of people. Chicanos, actually, I hear they like to be referred to.
Yeah, Chicanos.
So, I really think Bloomberg things got legs, and they're all in, and they're hoping, and I don't know. So, a long way to say, I think there is real consideration for Bloomberg, Hillary. I know you disagree with me, but they're unhinged in any other way. So why would this be so crazy to think that they wouldn't go all in for anything to get Trump out? Because if we don't, even if we do, we need a strong person who will then drag him from the White House.
You need some bruisers to get him out of there.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Chicanos, John C. DeBoer.
Yeah, well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air. Subs in the water. And all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our trolls in the troll room. There at noagendastream.com. A little brazen today, but at least, well, let me see. How many do we have in there? This is the holiday weekend. And, not bad. 1,350 trolls. This is
pretty good for a holiday.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad, trolls.
Yeah, but it's kind of as I mentioned in the newsletter, it's kind of a 4-day holiday.
Yes, it is, with President's Day tomorrow. And I guess in some places, people actually get Valentine's Day off. I'm not familiar with this. But
I think, no, people take it off. Now, people take it off. I mean, I used to do that. You take the day off, make it a 4-day. Take a sick day on, the Friday.
Oh, sick day. Okay, I got you.
Sick day, and then
now there is
coincidentally, I'm always taking my sick days off just before a 3-day weekend. Huh?
There is a controversy, a severe controversy with the art for episode 1216. Well, allow me to read what came in. So. We chose a piece of art which we both liked. I'm ready for oligarchy. The choice is clear. There is none, and it looked like a original piece. We didn't actually check it. We often will check.
No, I did. I did an image search. I found nothing.
I didn't know. Well, you can imagine. I got a note from Comic Strip Blogger. Correct. It is 14th February in Eurotrash continent now, but yesterday was unlucky number day, so I was not submitting artwork yesterday at all. However, I've noticed that artwork that won is 100% stolen, not even mashup. Proof. It links to it. So you can skip giving credit to the thief. I myself am creating original art using 2 apps for iPad, and I use elements from internet for mashup. Do not give credit.
It's funny, he got credit for that stolen art some time back when he had the Santa Claus, if you remember that.
Well, interestingly, this came from a website titled called LibertyManiacs.com. And
yes.
So, and I got a tweet right after the Comic Strip Blogger tweet. It says, hey, this art is taken from my brother's site, LibertyManiacs.com, but we're both No Agenda listeners, so it's very meta value for value. So that, to me, that blew my mind, kind of.
I tried to get a hold of McCall, is the artist, McCall. And he never got back to me. I told him what we wanted to do was, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And we would just plug his site, LibertyManiacs.com. He's a libertarian, by the way. And he was sued over that art.
Yes, he actually fought for it. Yeah. He was sued by the Hillary campaign.
Because it's derivative of one of the campaigns for Hillary. And
but they won, or there was no.
As far as I can tell, it's one of those hollow suits. It was a threat.
Right. Yeah. But they were. What I liked about it is, first of all, now the art is credited to Chai Budesh, and that remains still this way. I should change that. Yeah. I just looking at Chai Budesh's other submissions. I think we actually looked at it and said, well, it kind of hit the mark with this one. And the other ones hadn't really.
Yeah. Comic Strip Blogger did make one point. He said he looked at his other works and says, just generally speaking, artists have a style. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a big style that has a lot of range. And usually they don't have much range. The style is usually pretty straightforward. And if they get their art chosen because they hit it on the mark, mm-hmm. but it's within their style.
Yeah,
this guy's style is not this.
No, it was.
It was all, and that's what Comic Strip Blogger said, because he knows this too, which is the style is everything. And so he said, "This is not the same guy." And okay, well, we are sorry about that error. It doesn't happen. It just happened twice, I think, or 3 times.
Yeah, but what I like the most is that these guys like, hey, no problem. By the way, we're both No Agenda listeners. Like, wow. I mean, now we're bad and nationwide. I love that.
It kind of makes sense because, in fact, I was surprised when I saw the art. I went to their website. I said, these guys should be No Agenda listeners with the stuff they're doing.
Exactly. And lo and behold, there you have it.
Well, anyway, we'll post their. You can look it up. It's LibertyManiacs.com. Liberty Maniacs, and they got a lot of nice shirts. They do.
They do, yeah.
Posters await.
Anyway, noagendaartgenerator.com. Have you talked to Paul Couture recently? I'm trying to get a hold of him.
I just sent him a note because somebody could not get on their own account.
Yes, I know.
I don't know. Paul might be out of commission at the moment, so I haven't heard back from him.
I've been concerned about the Art Generator, and I'm going to raise my concern again. Because people can't register new accounts. They can't participate.
It's hurting the show.
Yeah, so we need someone to take that into consideration.
Yeah, Paul will be back.
I hope so.
He comes in and out of commission every so often.
All right. Well, it's a great resource, noagendaartgenerator.com. It's important to the show. So I hope that we can I'm sure people will be happy to help him or take over some admin duties.
Yeah, well, I put that out there.
That's what I want.
No. He switched it over from Drupal to something else, and I think it's got probably a glitch.
Oh, please. Don't even go there with me. You glitch.
Yeah, glitch.
Well, so noagendaartgenerator.com is one of the many ways that producers contribute to the Value for Value network. That's how the show runs. I mean, it would be impossible to pay artists. Hey, I want 15 guys to pitch us for the album artwork. Yeah, that would not. Can you imagine? Just like, we don't toss stuff over our shoulder to be edited by someone else or edited at all, really. You got to do it yourself. That's the only way to survive in this business. Little tip, pro podcaster tip. You got to do it yourself if you want to survive. We also like to thank our executive producers and associate executive producers who come in with their higher donations for the episode, and we mention them more at the beginning of the show, pretty much like credits of a Hollywood blockbuster, which each episode of the No Agenda Show is. So who can we thank as our executive producers for today?
It's at least as long as a blockbuster.
The Irishman, yeah.
Irishman is maybe a half hour longer.
Yeah.
Sean McCall in Bloomington, Minnesota starts us off at $333.33. He's got a note here. ITM. I tweeted at him regarding a fellow producer.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. Did we get to steal their art, but they gave us money? Life is good in America.
This is only on the No Agenda Show, and probably only in America.
Yeah, I'd say. I'm overdue for a contribution, so I thought now was a good time to show that there's no ill will on this end. In fact, I'm sure a plug of announcer voice, LibertyManiacs.com, here is easily far more valuable than any paid ad on the social feed bags. I got blurry vision today.
Yeah.
You guys have brought together our best friends into a text group who all listen to No Agenda and talk about the BS news. That said, I'd like to call out Mike. Douchebag. I'm sorry, that was Mike. Colin. Douchebag. Peter. Douchebag. And Eric. Douchebags. I think Mike is the guy that was the artist. Scott, a.k.a. Woody, provided the show art a few weeks back, so I think that counts as value for value, so he's not going to call him out. Thank you both for the persistence and sanity. It's changed our lives for the better. Sean in Bloomington.
Oh, that's so nice, Sean. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So nuts.
And adding executive producer to his credit list for today. We really appreciate it. And thanks for y'all being cool.
Curiously, John Waldorf in Sunrise, Minnesota Nuts is next.
Oh.
330 with the same amount of money.
Huh.
333.33. Very strange. Random number theory. ITM Jansen's an early second donation on the road to the round table, 2/3 of the way there. I produced show 1189 and had planned to wait till summer for my next installment, but when the Menard's Lumberyard receipt hit 333.33, I knew it was time.
Huh.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, a lot of people, and they'll often tweet pictures when they get a table 33, parking spot 33, receipt with $33
at the hotel.
Yeah, it's usually a sign from the universe.
Yeah, saying, hey, those guys are doing No Agenda. They need your help.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says he's digging the coverage of the sweet and sour sickness.
Oh, here it is. This is what I read. I kind of missed the Euro updates. Maybe
Kind
Adam
of missed the Euro updates. There you go. Maybe Adam needs to make a trip.
again.
Calling out my nephew. He's already gone too much. Kurt and Matt is douchebags. Douchebag. Two of them. Douchebag. That was Matt. Okay. Much needed health karma for my dad and F cancer for Becky. Top it all off with a China is asshole and a just send your cash. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Pitch in slaves. John Waldorf, Esquire.
I'm trying to think. It's not just send your cash. I haven't played that one in a long time. Isn't it water?
Yeah, water
blankets. I don't remember.
It was Bush, probably under Bush.
I know, but what if I couldn't find it anymore?
I don't know. This never happened.
Well, let me do the. I have to look for that now. It's completely gone. I don't know what happened to it. Well, let's do the. Here we go.
You've got karma.
China is asshole.
It's gone.
Dennis Garcia is next on the list. We'll get back to that one later. 333 is in San Francisco. I'm turning 33 today, February 15th, and decided to get myself a no agenda producership. Thanks for all the media deconstruction you do. You keep my amygdala small and healthy. Please continue to keep an eye on Europe. There you go, number 2. Right after the other one.
This is
again
a conspiracy.
Random number. France in particular is having a rough time. I do have a France clip of one that no one will even discuss.
I pulled a couple of Europe clips too.
The protests haven't stopped since the yellow vests started to demonstrate. I'm also becoming a knight. See accounting.
Yep.
I think he's on the list. I would like to be known as Sir Did, pronounced Deed. Sir Deed, data janitor of the Noe Valley. Can I have some ribeye and Bourgogne at the round table? Also, you need some relationship karma.
Is it Bourgogne or Bourgogne?
No, it's Bourgogne.
Bourgogne?
Yeah, Bourgogne. It's Burgundy. He wants some Burgundy wine. He wants some Pinot.
Okay, ribeye and Bourgogne. I thought you said, ribeye and Bourgogne. Bourgogne. I have to remember this stuff because I got to serve it at the table for them. Yes, relationship karma. Of course you can have that.
You've got karma.
And by the way, regional pronunciations may vary. It could be Bourgogne somewhere. But I don't think so in Bourgogne. Whatever. In Bordeaux, they pronounce the T's that the French normally don't speak. So when you say, you get corrected. If you go, when I first went to France, I actually could speak French in the 70s. And I would say 35, you know what I mean? 5.
Yeah.
And they would look at you and stare at you, and they do the typical French correction. 35.
Oh, really? I learned 35. I didn't learn 30.
Everybody, that's Parisian. And they hated the Parisians in Bordeaux. In fact, when I first was in Bordeaux, I'm driving around a rented car that I rented in Paris that I drove down to Bordeaux. And so I'm driving around, I'm being told to say 30. And
so you're irked. You're driving around irked.
Well, no, they're running me off the road left and right. These guys are honking at me and giving me the finger. I'm thinking, shit, I'm a terrible driver. I was talking to one of the wine guys there, and he says, I was expressing my disgust with the drivers. He says, really? He says, people don't drive like that around here. And then he looks at my car. He says, oh, you've got Paris plates. There's a arrondissement number at the beginning of the plate is where the car's from, and I was driving around a Paris car, and so
that's why. Yes. By the way, I found this.
Just send your cash. We just need cash. We can't take that to the bank.
I don't even remember that one. It's not the one I was looking for. But we have so much shit.
I don't remember that one either.
I've never heard. It's a longer.
Meanwhile, we do remember. We do have associate executive producers, and the first one is Jacob Forrester.
Wait, he needs relationship karma.
Yes, sorry.
Dennis Garcia? Dennis, I guess. One N, one S.
But it says Dennis.
Dennis.
To my
Okay. Relationship karma with a goat twist, I think, would be appropriate today.
You've got karma.
There you go.
I'm sure it's probably pronounced Dennis, and he is a guy. Jacob Forrester, 26969. Jake Forrester, Hebron, Kentucky Jingles, don't eat me, Bo. Jiden, we must eat the babies. That sounds pretty good. China is asshole. This is the clips he wants. Random Ellen Goat Karma. You got too many clips listed.
We don't actually have an Eat the Babies ISO. It never was an ISO. It's a minute 50. So I'm going to have to.
Oh yeah, don't eat the babies. No, that's out.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
John, this is my first. John, where's that? Oh, Adam and John. I see. Adam and John, this is my first donation, and thus I would like to be properly dedouched.
No, we can do that.
You've been dedouched.
I'm going to pronounce it dedouched.
Dedouched.
I was hit in the mouth this past summer by my brother, Sir Night Night, who is a douchebag, as I have yet to hear him donate since I began listening. Wait a minute. He's a knight. How can he be a douchebag?
I don't understand. Sir Night Night. No, he clearly is not a douchebag.
But he asked his brother, called him out, so you run it and then let him fight the two of them.
Douchebag.
I like to also call it my future brother-in-law, Boo Vasquez, as a douchebag.
Douchebag.
I hit him in the mouth months ago and have yet to hear from him in the form of a donation. Get it on, men. Anyways, as a newer listener, I truly enjoy all the infotainment you both provide on both Thursdays of the week. At first, I was a bit confused on the inside jokes and topics. However,
he picked up on it pretty quick. He's got it.
The more I listened and the easier it was to catch on. One item I still struggle with are the lucky numbers. If you could make any time to expand on this, I would greatly appreciate it. A few things I enjoy the most. It's a long story. A few things I enjoy the most about the ins and outs of the show are the way Adam says the word measure.
No, I stole it from you.
John butchering any European name. No, I'm butchering the Dutch.
No, pretty much any name.
Well, I have butchered a few names. Although, before I began this show a decade ago or more, I prided myself with the ability to pronounce almost anything.
And I have to say that when I hear you mention kind of offhandedly, my vision's a little blurry today, I'm happy. I'm like, oh, this will be great. Can't wait to hear how you read stuff.
And the non-triggered community that the show has helped cultivate. I truly believe that if there are more no-agenda listeners, the world would be a much better place. We agree, by the way.
Totally.
I'm trying to spread the word about the show as much as I can. I recently shared animated NA to my dad and my manager about Trump's 16,000 lies, according to the WAPO. They both enjoyed the commentary and the visuals provided by Dame Jennifer. I figured I can ease them both in this way, ease them both into the show. I never listened to any other podcast before, but I am so grateful my brother hit me in the mouth so I can enjoy the best podcast in the universe, according to the Mueller report. Nice, catching on. Thanks, Chris. My 2020 goal is to gain knighthood and attend a meetup. Meetups are all over. Attend one as soon as you can. Please keep up the good work. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay, so we don't have the must-eat babies, but I think everything else I can do for you. So thank you very much, Jacob, and thank you for your courage.
Don't eat me, Bo Jiden. You're scary, so scary.
China is asshole. RESPICT.
You've got karma.
All right, thank you.
Sean Brown's next up, $234. The newsletter prompted me to empty my PayPal account.
Oh, it works.
Finally.
Yeah.
I have been listening for years and never donated. Keep up the great work, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Sean.
From Salt Lake City.
Thank you so much.
Zachary McLean.
He didn't ask for a dedouching, so I guess we just leave that as it is.
Yeah, well, if he did, maybe he doesn't want one.
Okay.
That's what I have to assume. Zachary McLean in Cottage Grove, Minnesota nuts. 22222. A lot of Minnesotans in today. They're listening for stories about Amy. Feeling inadequate, ITM. Feeling inadequate, not donating in a few weeks. Go Chefs. Oh, he wants that jingle. Go Chefs.
We don't have a Go Chefs jingle.
No, he just says Go Chefs. Then he says jingle : Okay. He just throws that in because he thought it was funny. Deep fake John. There goes the Zephyr.
Also,
Bernie.
something doesn't exist. Oh, wait, there is one. No, that's not true. Hold on. Let me check.
There goes the Zephyr. Only 7 cars, though.
Oh my God, he really wanted that? Jeez.
That's the deep fake of Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Bernie, I have all the power. The power, or the president joke one. That's a good one.
That's
by
a
the
good
way.
one. Yeah, that's a good one.
We had a big debate about that one for end of show mixer last show. Mm-hmm. And a real-time mudflax check from John. Hold on. Oh, boy, they're bigger than ever. It looks like the tide must be out. Oh, yeah. Horrible. Just mud. Mud everywhere. All you can see is mud. Black Knight yet to claim and will wait. Not necessarily. I preached the scam of Tesla. By the way, you can wait all you want. That doesn't mean you're a Black Knight. I preached the scam of Tesla on Twitter and freedom to the zero hedge. Elon Musk killed Epstein. Zach.
Yeah. Do we need to disclaim that so we don't get sued by by the estate, something like that?
It's obviously a high humor.
Yes, it is indeed high humor. No jingles, no karma. Got one jingle for you.
I'm the president of the United States. I have all of the power.
Yes, you do. You do, Bernie.
I also wanted the jingle with the Zephyr.
I played it.
Oh, you played it in line. It's linearly. Okay, good enough. Joe, oh brother, no, Joe bisexual.
Besessi.
Oh, Besessi. I told you my vision is a little blurred. 20510. I'm excited to take part in the Dame Drive and gift my wife her damehood on the No Agenda Nation.
Nice.
Lady Kara of the Wickapog is an amazing mother, wife, and I'm quite happy to have her at the round table. Pickles and sticky green at the round table, please.
What's sticky green?
I don't know.
Okay, I've
Where's
got
he
it.
from? Doesn't say. Probably some local thing.
I'm putting in the order right now.
There's $150 for the Dame Drive accounting below, and $55.10 for the Make Chris Wilson a Duke Drive.
Oh, is this?
His songs are totally rad. Somebody's gonna have to be. Hey, Chris, are you keeping track of this?
Yeah, keep track of this, Chris.
I mean, otherwise you're never going to get it. I would like to ask a few questions and hopefully add some content. I saw a headline on Fox News that the helicopter company of the flight where Kobe died was not cleared for the inclement weather. Is this real? So we did a whole thing on this, and Adam, I think, covered it probably better than anybody in the news networks, especially Fox. Seems to me if you're cleared to fly, weather shouldn't matter since it can sneak up on you mid-flight.
Okay, yeah, you should listen to that episode because the second part of your sentence there means you probably didn't listen or understand it. No, they did not.
Unfortunately, we don't have the episode number handy. Somebody in the chat room might.
It's they did not. It's a part 135, which means they can do helicopter services, but not on instruments. And that is pretty much 99% of all helicopter transport companies, or really ones that operate and lease them out. They don't have that. So yes, but it doesn't. That's why you need to listen to it, because the situation that took place, it was mistakes were made way before you got into the weather. You don't just get in weather and like, oh, I'm on instruments, I'll live. No. So.
And there were other issues with the
many other
nature of customers in that type of service. I thought was the most interesting.
Yes, exactly.
And something we don't consider. I must ask for clarification, he continues, regarding your explanation of Dimensions A versus B on a recent show. I thought Dimension A was Fox News believers and Dimension B was CNN and MSNBC. No. Dimension A is reality.
There you go. Reality.
Dimension B is unreality, and it could be on Fox News, it could be on CNN. All of those people are over in Dimension B.
Thank you.
Dimension B can be crazy on both sides of the political spectrum.
Yes.
We point that out quite often.
All the time.
But there is a base reality. This is, the reality. Isn't the show teaching us to be straddlers? No. If anything, you don't want to be a straddler of the dimensions. You want to be solidly in the reality dimension. Okay. Is this not right? No. In a previous dimension segment, you made it seem like the show was Dimension A and the M5M is Dimension B. Yes.
Yes, there you go.
You got that part right. What if someone came to your door one day and had proof that they were your brother or sister? Would you slam the door in their face after saying, "Do you know where your data is now, slave?" What is this sentence? Am I reading this wrong?
What if someone came to your door one day and had proof they were your brother or sister? Would you slam the door in their face after saying, "Do you know where your data is now?" It's like, I'm not quite sure. This, I think, has to do with 23andMe, maybe?
I have no idea what it means. Anyway, I wouldn't say that. Anyway, this concludes my questions. The last one was pretty odd. And this is what happens when you straddle. This concludes my questions. I'll leave you with the fact that I love this podcast. Mo Facts too.
Just going back to the question about the magic numbers, we didn't actually answer that. The 33 is the magic number, and we just noticed a long time ago that whenever something was weird in the news, the number 33 is always mentioned for no apparent reason. And it's and you just start to notice it cropping up. Now, there's also 42, which is the most important number in the universe. For that, I point you to...
the answer to everything in the universe.
The answer to everything in the universe. Thank you. For that, I point you to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And there's also 11 and 7, which are lucky numbers, and 8 is the Chinese lucky number.
Yeah.
And 88 is even more lucky, 888 is even more lucky, and 8888 is even more lucky.
So
the license plates in Hong Kong are sold for millions of dollars with those numbers on there.
So the interesting thing about numbers is, once we started doing value for value, it didn't take long before people started sending codes in their donation numbers.
Yeah.
Such as Jews like to send something with 18 in it. Very lucky for them. And they do that at weddings, at bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs. It's like $18.18. You're pretty stingy, but okay. So everyone has a relationship to a number, and when it's an executive or associate executive producership, then that is often explained to us why that is important.
Exactly. And we were all, when we started noticing, it was like there's a penchant for numerology amongst the listeners of the show and the producers.
Really, everybody has something with everybody in the world has a favorite number
I
or a
believe
lucky
it's
number.
probably true, but we exploit it.
Yeah. That's right. We exploit it.
We exploit it. Just be honest about it. We exploit it. And it's turned out to work out, which is even more interesting.
Yes.
People they like these numbers. Anyway, and if you get a bill for $33.33, it's telling the cosmos.
It's the trigger. Yep.
Christian Allen is our last associate executive producer. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maple Ridge, BC, $200. My Tristan is 16 on Monday, and he has asked me to donate to No Agenda. I did this last year for him as well, helping him work towards knighthood. Aww. He and I both love No Agenda, and he would donate on his own if he was working. Below is his letter.
I love this.
Could I please have some karma for me and my family as well, if it is all right, a few jingle requests. They are Rubbilizer, George Clooney's A Spy, and Vladimir's Don't Worry, Be Happy on Putin. Also, please add me to the birthday list, since my birthday is on Monday. Thank you so much for the great podcast you produce every week, twice. I'll always be checking on Wednesday or Saturday to see if there's a new episode, because I always look forward to listening. It's always a new episode. I'm always learning about topics not covered in the news or in school. either, for that matter. I like to know how old our friend is here. For that matter, I wanted to thank my parents.
16. He turned 16.
He's 16. Duh.
Yeah.
I want to thank my parents for being the best I could ever ask for, always being there for me and teaching me important life skills. Without them, I wouldn't be here, and I would have very little direction in my life. Well, yeah, that's nice. Let's keep up the amazing work. Signed, Tristan. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, we do have one make good I wanted to read. Did he ask for jingles or anything?
Yes, he did, and I'm looking for the number station, the Rubbleizer Out. It's another one of those.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one if I could find it. What the heck is going on with me today? That doesn't...
No.
Yeah, and even if I look for Rubbleizer, I got lots of rubble, but I don't have the... It's named something weird. I know that. See, Mike... Well, I feel really stupid now. Anyway, I will work on the other ones first. What do we have? And you wanted a regular karma?
George Clooney is a spy.
I got that, yeah.
And don't worry, be happy.
Got that, and...
George Clooney is a spy.
Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy.
You've got karma.
It's just something's wrong. I mean, even the Clooney is a spy bit was the wrong one. What is going on? Did someone touch my machine?
It wasn't me. My arms aren't that long. You have one make good donation note to read, which is from 1216, Miss Jamie C.
Okay.
She says, I'm writing this note because of the donation show 1216. Mine was a $214.33 donation that apparently lost its accompanying note. Apparently, PayPal does not like a line of emojis followed by Cliff Notes version of War and Peace. And this was a night that she's on the knighting list. I checked, and she's meant to be knighted but she's gonna be knighted today. And she wanted to be a black knight, but that's not our fault. So it wasn't. She doesn't get it. I told her that, and she said, "Okay, I'd just be the lady of the highway." Anyway, given the federal government's having classified piloting a 40-ton vehicle amid a sea of insane four-wheel drivers hell-bent on killing themselves a safety-sensitive function, thus making me eligible for random drug testing, I hereby request sausage and sauerkraut at the round table.
Okay, sausage and sour. I think we've had that before at the round table.
Maybe. It makes sense. It's a classic. I also have two questions for Adam.
Okay.
In the Propagate jingle, why do they say new water order?
I think they say New World Order.
That's what I thought. She's hearing new water. So I think you're mishearing. And when you give karma with a twist of goat, what part of the goat are you twisting?
To use your imagination.
Yeah, you can tell by the sound.
Hello.
Inquiring minds want to know. No jingles, but I could use some patience karma for dealing with the suicidal four-wheelers out there running the I-35 through the construction in Austin. It's the worst.
Oh, yes, it really
Miss
is
Jamie
bad.
of the highway.
Yes.
Now,
and isn't she a ham as well?
Yeah, she says 73s.
Yeah, 73s, K5ACC. Still not able to find the darn Rubbleizer. That's really bothering. But I did find the correct Clooney, and she wants a karma, which is still, I just want to play the Clooney one since we didn't have the right one. Does she need anything else for this make good?
She just needs the karma, good karma.
But is it goat karma or regular?
No, I know she didn't say goat karma.
Okay.
George Clooney is a spy.
Just catching up.
You've got karma.
So let's stop the show for a second and ask you what was it labeled? What changed?
I found it, and I also found out why I couldn't find it. And this is a good tip for everybody. This is a good tip. people will often, and this is legacy stuff. People will often. I just like one of these guys. Like, are you with the Fugees? You're just going to repeat everything I say?
Yes,
in the background
because it's important.
legacy clip. Yes, it is important. If you send me a clip, please leave the spaces if you're going to in the file name. A lot of people will do underscores or
that's old school.
Like hackers, so you do each word is capitalized. So the reason why I couldn't find this is I'm looking for the string, and of course this is regular expressions that I'm using. And in order to get some reasonable hits and not a huge list, I know it's like numbers, number station, but this is all written together, no agenda number station, all one word. So I will change that now after I play it.
India, Tango, Mike, stand by, 33, 33, 33, Rebelizer out.
That's what it was. And that does happen. So then if you just, I'm looking for whole words when that's the way the search is set up. So long way of saying, hey, just send it to me with spaces. Spaces are valid characters, no?
Nowadays.
Not on PayPal, but otherwise, yes. That would be very nice. Anything else? Or was that it?
No, I wanted to, we want to thank all these folks for producing show. What is it? 1217.
1217, that's right. And we will...
That's the heavy lifting we just went through.
Yeah, it's going to be much shorter, the second one. We'll be back, of course, with more deconstruction on Thursday at this point, the first or second Thursday of the week. And that'll be just before we go to Florida. And Sunday will actually be from Florida, so doing a meetup there. More about that later. But the point is, if you'd like to support us, it is value for value. We like crazy numbers. Just explain it to them. Go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Now let's see if you too hear new water order.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Not even close to water.
I think you could hear it. No, if you want to, you could hear water.
I tried. I could just because of the word.
Water.
In that case, it came through clear. I don't know what happened.
Certainly an interesting miss here. I want to thank Olaf Sir Wolwo, WOLWO. He's from Deutschland. Hello, Deutschland! Adam John, being a producer of the No Agenda Show and at the same time a member of the Content Marketing Association in Germany called the CMF, the Content Marketing Forum, I came up with an idea. I would like to donate the submission to the Best of Content Marketing Award for the German contest.
Yes.
I would like to submit the animated No Agenda Show as a YouTube series to promote the No Agenda Show. I'll fill out all the forms, etc., cover all expenses as a way to hit people in the mouth. What do you think? Should I proceed? I said yes. I didn't even ask you, John. I said, yes, let's do it right away.
You didn't have to ask me.
No, and I think it's...
You know what I'd say.
Of course. You'd say, yes. What a great idea.
Awards?
It's a great... Oh, don't get me started on awards. Have you followed the latest controversy?
No.
So... There's been, I think, 2 or 3 different podcast awards. And, I think iHeartRadio has their own podcast awards.
Yeah, well, they're just like Playboy used to give awards to its writers. I mean, come on.
Right. So there used to be something called the Podcast Academy. I don't think I'm a member. But I do remember they put me in the Hall of Fame.
So, I remember that.
So now some other podcast network has decided to resurrect the Podcast Academy and subsequently do awards. And the thing that was interesting is this was announced partially in a Bloomberg article where, let me see if I can, I have it here. If if this is Bloomberg. It's very funny, actually. Yes, Bloomberg. Podcast producers are creating their... This is Bloomberg. Bloomberg, owned by the guy who's not really running. Podcast producers are creating their own version of the Oscars. The newly formed Podcast Academy plans to hold Golden Mike Awards in early 2021. Hernan Lopez, founder and chief executive officer of podcasting startup Wondery. Didn't they raise money? Didn't Wondery raise like a ton of money?
Maybe.
Wants to create the Academy Awards of podcasting. Lopez has recruited 10 of his peers to form the Podcast Academy. Did you get a memo?
Yeah.
No.
I guess we're not peers.
No. A nonprofit group modeled after similar organizations in film, TV, and music. The association will host a new award show, the Golden Mikes, in 2021 to honor the top shows and crafts people in on-demand audio. And I think this is where it comes. Born in the halls of public radio, podcasting has emerged as one of the
Whoa!
I know.
What?
Exactly.
Did Johnny come lately suddenly, or where it all came from?
And no, this is Bloomberg, and
no, I'm just saying the Bloomberg is claiming that public radio had something to do with the origin story.
No. Born in the halls of public radio.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Well, they're full of shit. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, so the article is, so it just kind of goes downhill from there, but it's based on an interview with him. So of course you got all the old school.
Oh, he came out of he's a hack from public radio.
Is he? He may be. I don't know.
Might be. Hey, I'm a hack from public radio.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Anyway, I just wanted to say
public radio. They get the problem with public.
No. Let's not even do that. Let's just talk about awards.
Yeah.
If I can just say, fuck awards. I mean, seriously.
I love awards.
I liked being the award that really meant something to me was the Marconi Award in the Netherlands, because it's a long established true academy of broadcasters, and it was for my contribution to broadcasting.
So in other words, fuck awards except the one you won.
No.
And it's an elitist award. It's only something that's been established. It's like a big shot award. But screw the rest of them, so they should have no other awards.
Correct.
Because you won one of the top awards you can possibly get.
That's exactly why I bring it up. No.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, my point is that awards are meaningless. Please look at award shows. Do you really think this is going to make a difference in anyone's life? Look at the ratings. People don't care about awards. It's just a sad ploy to commercialize your show. And when I received my award, it was not for my show. It was not for the No Agenda show. It was something else. And so now they're going to have all these categories, and this is where it gets a little more interesting.
You plugged the show, I hope.
You saw the acceptance speech.
I can't remember it.
I thanked you. I didn't thank the show. I thanked you. I did not promote the show.
Well, thank you for thanking me. But
yes,
okay.
And unfortunately, I forgot to thank my wife and my daughter. It was pretty dumb. I did thank Medicated
you
Pete.
And
I made bad choices in my acceptance speech. It was a rush job.
You need a card.
But
checklist.
The biggest. I'm reading back to the article. The biggest award shows become an industry unto themselves, with consultants getting paid millions of dollars to help win awards. There are months of campaigning and hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising, and the payoff is measurable. Sales of the latest Grammy winners jumped 100%. So it's just like, it's a circle jerk. And here's the best. It's like we want to celebrate the people behind the mic who produce and write the...
Well, they just didn't... Wait a minute.
That's not
hold on. So what the article says the following. These awards are commercial garbage, and it takes a lot of work to win one of them because you have to hire consultants and experts, and you got to load up, and then we give an award to some guy who we're honoring because he's good at his job.
Yeah. Now,
I mean, there's something missing from the logic here. If you're going to give awards to people that are good at their job, you don't need all this accoutrements. You don't need all these consultants and all the rest of it. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's just irksome.
It's just awards are kind of just stupid.
No, they're not stupid. They're very valuable. They take up places on the mantle. People ask their conversation starters. There's a lot of value to an award.
You're talking about the actual award, having it in your hands, the award.
Yeah.
All right. It's just podcasting. Podcasting is not the same as the music business or television or movie. It is, by definition, not a mainstream medium. So there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts, and you're only going to honor the ones that are on the Wondery network or the iHeart network.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really serve.
It's an insider scam. Scam.
It's scam. That's what it is. I wasn't saying it for that matter. Just I got drawn into this conversation. I didn't reply to the thread at all. But it was like, adding Adam Curry. I'm sure he wants. No. You know what's good? I want Joe Rogan, March 3rd. That's going to help the show. Don't need an award. What happened to the Webbies? Gone. What happened to
they're not.
John. They're completely bankrupt. The whole thing is done. The Webbies is over.
Oh, I didn't know they went bankrupt.
Pretty much. The Streamies, same thing.
I never heard of the Streamies. Is that from the urologist conference?
Yes. You too.
They have the Streamies at the urologist conference.
You too can become a Streamy. The Streamies. I should probably write that down. Consider that as a new category. The Streamies. Yes. For those of you who have SureFlow.
Well, we won the podcasting award.
Yeah, back when it was
news show.
Yeah, back when it was was still
when it was important and when it counted.
When the people were voting on it.
Yeah, not a bunch of schlubs.
It's some academy we know nothing about. Oh my goodness! All right, before we go a step further, I have to do 2 European clips because people are irked that we're not doing them. And I'm sure you have one as well.
I do.
The first is something that was interesting. I did not know this was taking place. I knew some of it. Here is tariffs that the U.S. is levying on the European Union.
President Trump's administration has announced it'll raise the import tariff on EU aircraft from 10 to 15% in March. It's mainly targeted at giant European plane manufacturer Airbus. The 10% tariff was introduced back in October after the World Trade Organization ruled that the US could legally impose tariffs worth $7.5 billion or 6.9 billion euros. That was because the EU had been caught illegally subsidizing Airbus. But the WTO has also ruled that the US were guilty of subsidizing its own giant aircraft manufacturer Boeing. In the coming months, it'll rule on what level of tariffs the EU can impose. Since the October ruling, the US has also slapped a 25% tariff on other EU products, including wine, cheese, coffee and olives. Airbus has said the tariffs will only increase trade tensions between the EU and the US.
Well, that's the point, is to increase tensions, to whip you people in shape over there. To the Airbus, Boeing, that's a fight that's been ongoing, and quite honestly, it's protectionary at this point. Because Boeing is in trouble with the 737 MAX. Southwest Airlines has 85 of them just sitting in the desert waiting until the glitch can be fixed. But it's the wine. I've noticed this, and I wanted to ask you. I like a 2016 Pinot Noir. That's the year. But you can't get it for under $20 now. Have you noticed the prices have gone up since these tariffs came in?
No.
Because I wasn't thinking about it. I just said to Tina the other day, I said, man, the wine is expensive. It's like, you should be able to get a good bottle for under $20. It's crazy. That's what I learned from you. Well, not a 2016. Not a 2016.
You have to go with your phone and a camera and go to the store and then go to and then call me and then we'll put it on the screen. I can see what you're doing and I can tell you what to get.
Right. So you haven't noticed the 25% tariff on French wine?
No, I have not.
Oh, that's odd.
Most of the French wine is done on long-term contracts, and I don't know how they deal with the tariffs.
And then, thank you. I have a clip from the European Union, from the Starfleet Command, the European Parliament. Just a short one, but I thought a fine little piece of politicking in the EU. The Irish member of Parliament, Mick Wallace, is reprimanded for something he said about Venezuela's Guaido.
And in particular, to the Europeans' attitude, do you not agree that the recognition of Guaido is an absolute embarrassment to anyone that has to occupy this chamber? And it's a disgrace on the part of the member states of Europe that so many of them have recognized unelected gobshites.
Mr. Wallace. Now, you did use the word gobshite, sir, and I would reprimand you over that.
Called Guaido gobshite, which is a
gobshite.
Gobshite, which is
shithead.
I guess, but gobshite, you get
gob would be a Britishism for head,
yeah,
and shite is German for shit. So shitheads. He's making these up as he goes along.
Here's
the word gobshite, sir.
The gobshite. Well, shite is the Brits say shite instead of shit. They say
shite. Gobshite.
Gobshite.
Okay, it's British.
I think that's good. I like gobshite. I think that's a great term. I'm going to use it myself. Thank you for introducing me. I like gobshite.
Now, the clip I have this is the story that they're not going to play here because the French, we don't talk a lot about. We talk about NHS and some of these different health systems in Canada and England, but the French really have a great socialized medicine system, and a lot of Brits move to France in their older years so they get taken care of by French doctors.
For sure.
Very common. But apparently it's falling apart too.
Walls around Paris's Hôpital Saint-Louis attest to rising anger among doctors. Medics say they lack funds and manpower, they're short on care and admin assistants, and over 70 nurses' posts remain unfilled.
It's our appeal to the public. Hospitals save you, so let's save them.
L'hôpital vous sauve, sauvez-le. This haematologist says low salaries and rising workloads are driving staff away.
Beds are being lost because we lack staff. So sometimes you see patients waiting on stretchers in the emergency ward. People are suffering, and it's not acceptable to leave them on stretchers like that. Cutbacks are not just theoretical. They have practical consequences. And we see them on the ground every day.
French public hospitals have been hit by walkouts for 10 months.
Wow.
Medics saying budget cuts and market-based policies by successive governments have left patients suffering. Yassine is one of hundreds of doctors to have given up their administrative functions in protest.
We need to find another way of sounding the alarm bell for the public and the government over the problems in our hospitals. These days, it's the politics of accountancy that's running the hospitals, whereas it should be the politics of public health.
Gee.
Did you hear that? The politics of accountancy.
Yes.
The bean counters.
Yeah.
This is what always happens.
Yep.
And it even happens in the best public health system in the world, France. We'll just give them that.
Well, it's the same in the UK, the NHS. Same problem.
The bean counters come in and they say, we can cut. Why don't they bean counters, for example, go after the Pentagon in the United States? They don't do that.
Oh, wait. Don't we have an audit?
Too much work. Go audit somebody else. Okay, we'll go audit somebody else.
Yeah. What they do then is they come out and audit me.
Yeah.
Bastards. The mayor of Amsterdam, Femke Halsema, she's a greenie. She's been around for a long time. I don't like her particularly. She is, although I think this is a good idea, or it has to be done, is considering banning tourists from buying weed when they visit Amsterdam. Because it's out of control.
Why?
It's out of control. It's out of control. People come to Amsterdam, get high, get drunk, puke everywhere, piss in mailboxes, harass the whores. Hey,
how tall are these guys?
What? What?
I said, how tall are these guys? They can piss in a mailbox.
In the Netherlands, they have mailboxes the front door has a mailbox. A mail slot.
People's little flap.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, dear, what's that sticking in the flap there, the door in the front?
And then they go to the red light district and harass our whores. Hey. It's got to be done. Over and out. I agree with the mayor on this. Fuck off. Sorry, I didn't mean to use that, but I do mean it. It's ruining the city. Ruining.
How is it any different than it used to be?
Cheap air flights have made it just so enticing for all of Europe to Friday leave, go to Amsterdam.
Blame the airlines then.
Okay.
I mean, they make the place enticing, like you just said, and everyone flies there because it's cheap and it's not that expensive to stay there, like compared to other places.
Well, and Airbnb is another point that it really is Silicon Valley to some degree. It's Airbnb, it's EasyJet, and there's a couple others, but I think EasyJet really started the trend. And there's no respect. Let's put it that way. We're not Vegas.
How about policing a little better? You got a guy drunk in public.
Oh, well, good.
Stoned and drunk and puking. Hit him over the head with a club and throw him in jail.
You're mistaking the Netherlands for some place that actually has police that can do anything. Oh, no. They are afraid. The police are afraid. They walk away from trouble. They don't get involved in fights anymore. There's no policing. Of course, and that is also part of the mayor's policy.
Oh, she's going to increase the police?
No, she's going to take away weed.
That's not going to solve the problem.
No, but it's news from Europe.
So the locals can still buy weed, but
yes, you'll get a card.
Yeah, so in other words, so you're going to go to a weed place, coffee house,
it's jacking up the economy.
And you're going to sit there and you're going to say, "Well, I can't buy weed. Does anybody want to buy some weed for me?"
Or you just say, "I got." You just say, "I got some weed, man. Want to buy some weed for me?"
There's that. Yeah, you can create a lot of middlemen.
Yeah, it's going back to illegality. It's never been legal. Anyway, that's what's going on with Europe. We are so much better when it comes to weed in America and LGBT, open sexuality. You can't do that in Europe anymore. You get beaten up by people who disagree with it.
Well, while we're overseas, let's take a look at get an update on the Afghan deal.
Oh, yes. I'm curious.
Defense Secretary Mark Esper told a panel at the Munich Security Conference today that he believes a peace agreement with the Taliban looks, quote, very promising. A 7-day reduction in violence is expected to be formally announced tomorrow, and if successful, it will be followed by a U.S.-Taliban peace deal. But Esper did acknowledge today that there are risks.
We have to give peace a chance, that the best, if not only way forward in Afghanistan is through a political agreement. And that means taking some risk.
Esper and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani yesterday to discuss the details of the plan, which includes the gradual withdrawal of U.S. forces.
So I don't really understand if there's any change. It sounds like the same old to me.
Sounds like it to me, too. Let's do another overseas story, of course, is coronavirus. I got a couple different stories. I got one, the longer one is the CBS overview. You want to play that?
Yeah, let's see. CBS.
Coronavirus vaccine plus CBS overview.
Got it.
Tonight, the CDC is intensifying the battle against the deadly coronavirus that has infected more than 50,000 people worldwide. More than 1,500 people have died, nearly all of them in China. Carter Evans now on China's drastic measures to stop the outbreak.
This is what can happen to people who don't wear masks in the epicenter of the outbreak. As security forces patrol the streets of Wuhan during a total lockdown. For medical personnel, protective gear like suits and masks are in short supply, as is adequate care. Hospitals and clinics are overflowing with the sick and dying. In the U.S., the CDC is ramping up its own response to the epidemic by setting up 5 laboratories around the country where people with flu-like symptoms can now go and be tested for the virus if they're flu results are negative. This as scientists around the world race to develop a vaccine.
So you're using DNA and genetics to teach the body how to attack the virus.
Exactly, and to recognize the virus and then attack it immediately.
Inovio Pharmaceuticals in San Diego has already successfully developed vaccines for Ebola and Zika. Dr. Kate Broderick says the coronavirus vaccine they're working on now is showing promise.
It's currently being tested in the lab, literally as we speak, and we're manufacturing large-scale quantities of it to get it into human testing by the early summer.
Noticeable, the following, and you should probably do this check. Christina in Rotterdam and Ellen now in Chicago, both of them have expressed, just in casual conversation, they're not worried about much. Extremely worried about corona. It's something about how it was presented or how it's still being presented has really scared millennials. And I'm not sure if this is consistent, but I thought that was interesting that those two both kind of said, "Oh man, I don't care about much. I really don't want this coronavirus." That sounds a little afraid of it.
Well, there's 1,500 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So let's play the flu update and listen to the deaths of from the flu, and listen to the final conclusion. By the way, this one is from PBS because the CBS story left out an important fact at the end that's reported here by PBS on the flu.
The U.S. government is preparing to evacuate about 400 Americans tomorrow night from the Diamond Princess cruise ship, quarantined at a Japanese port.
No, that's Corona Update Saturday.
Well, then tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Flu report, PBS.
Okay, you totally said something different. That's okay.
Back in this country, a second wave of the flu is hitting children especially hard. U.S. health officials said today that 92 children have died so far this season. That is the most in 10 years. Overall, some 26 million Americans have caught the flu, and about 14,000 have died. Those numbers are not especially high compared with other years.
I have a complimentary clip for that from the Dr. Drew.
The press creates hysteria and headlines that are now divorced from the facts. I will not know when we actually have a pandemic coming. I will not be able, from reading...
All right, I'm going to put them on hold. But
from reading the press, I will not be able to know what we've got on our hands. And this is a perfect example of that. So here are the headlines now. Tens of thousands of more cases than we had realized. 300 dead in China. When the headline should read, in spite of it being milder and infecting many more tens of thousands of people that we knew, the death rate still remains just 300 people. The numerator versus the denominator is 0.00003%. Right?
I don't know what that is.
In other words, you put 300 over 40,000. That's the death rate from coronavirus.
Right.
Because they're realizing now it was much more widespread, much milder, much less likely to kill anybody, except people that are immunocompromised and are old or at risk for complications of our illnesses. You are much more likely to die of the flu right now than the coronavirus. Right now. Why isn't that the headline? Why aren't they saying get your flu shot? It's a reminder. Don't worry about this one. The CDC's got it.
That's a very good point.
It's a good point, except for the fact that they do tell you to get the flu shot.
I honestly, I haven't seen a commercial for the flu shot or a promo for it in a while.
No, we had a couple of clips of it recently.
I haven't seen it.
But the point is, of the clip that I had here, which is 14,000 dead compared to the 1,500.
Right.
But technically, the way they see it in China, if it's killing Chinese,
it's times 10.
They have to lock it down.
It's much more important. Killing. I have an update from our professor in Shanghai, Professor JJ, and ACJCD. Things are much worse. There's no problem with infections and illness. Rather, the crackdown on travel and commerce has dropped off to a trickle in certain places. This is in Shanghai. However, in Wenzhou, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Wenzhou, I've been taught how to pronounce it. In Wenzhou, a metro area of 10.6 million people are locked inside their apartment complexes. When I asked a friend if she could escape by saying that she wanted to go to a hospital, she said that she would be arrested if she did so. The high-speed train no longer stops at Wenzhou. Hence, unless people have a car, they cannot leave the city, and I trust that highways are blocked off anyway. The stores and markets are not getting new supplies. My friend Hefei, in Hefei, about 230 miles east-northeast of Wuhan, is also on lockdown. He works at an international school. They locked him in the school. They do let him leave the compound once a week to buy food. Relatively, I'm living in paradise in Shanghai. All the markets are open and well stocked. One more major issue with school closings. Technically, kids are still in school online. They have assignments or video lectures. But the British exams, the IGCSE and A-levels, are coming this spring, and many students will not be prepared. That means a huge number of Chinese kids who would otherwise attend university in the UK, Europe, Canada, and the US, and Australia will not be eligible. Just another effect of the just-in-time model of modern assembly line society. So there you go. They're still keeping them locked in, though. That's very interesting.
What if the whole thing is just to put the squeeze on us?
Well, I don't see how it puts the squeeze on us. I think it puts the squeeze on them.
A lot of our suppliers are all in China.
Well, no, not all. I mean, we have some people have gone to alternatives. There's India, there's Vietnam, and apparently some American factories. This actually brings me to a point that I was going to bring up later, but I want to do it now. I watched the documentary American Factory. Are you familiar with this documentary?
Yes, and it was who was the people behind it? It was the Obamas.
Yes. Well, actually, it's Participant Media, and that's Jeff Skoll. That's the PayPal guys. That's where all their money came from. This semi Elon Musk type crowd, but Jeff Skoll is very elite. And then if you watch the documentary, it starts off Participant Media. Then much later on, you get a little Higher Ground Productions. Not really a big deal. So it was more to me like a stamp of approval. In fact, they took a little bit of the trailer.
And the Oscar goes to?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is not the trailer. They won the Oscar for Best Documentary. I guess I will play this now.
And the Oscar goes to? American Factory.
This is the first Oscar and second nomination for Steven Bodnar. The first Oscar and fourth nomination for Julia Reichert. The first win and nomination for Jeff Reichert.
Notice you don't hear any Obama name in here at all whatsoever.
Our film is from Ohio and China. Go Buckeyes! And but it really could be from anywhere that people put on a uniform, punch a clock, trying to make their families have a better life. Working people have it harder and harder these days, and we believe that things will get better when workers of the world unite.
Thank you, Academy. Thank you to
Karl
everyone
Marx.
who trusted us to tell your story. Sheshe Chao Dewang. Thank you to our unstoppable.
Notice, by the way, this is really why I wanted you to hear this part. The award was, they have trophy babes on award shows. This was clearly a young Chinese man who handed them the awards. And we do need to remember China owns a large portion of Hollywood. So keep that in mind.
Thank you, Academy. Thank you to everyone who trusted us to tell your story. Sheshe Chao Dewang. Thank you to our unstoppable crew, our beloved friends and family, Chen Zhang, Mija Lee, our unstoppable editor, Lindsay Utes, and to those big-hearted people at Netflix, Participant Media, Higher Ground Productions, and the tough, inventive, great people of Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. Quick little, and I'm going to get into my review. Quick little.
Why is everybody so unstoppable? What was the reference to unstoppable? What does that mean?
Oh, I'll get to that. I think it's a part of my review. Here's a quick little 50-second piece of an interview with the director, and Julia Reichert, I guess.
In our hometown, Dayton, Ohio, there was a big General Motors plant that actually built the middle class of Dayton, as factories often do. The blue collar middle class.
Yeah.
But people could send their kids to college. There was security. They could own a home. It built that kind of middle class of our town. So that plant closed in 2008 as the economy was collapsing around us.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was going to happen. We made a film about that called The Last Truck. So fast forward about 8 years, and that plant stood empty. Raccoons living in it, rusting, very sad blight on our community. And a Chinese billionaire entrepreneur bought the plant and brought over 300 or more Chinese supervisors, workers, and hired 2,000 American blue-collar workers. And all I will say is complications ensue.
Okay, so you understand, you get the premise of the movie, of the documentary. So I decided to watch this because, it won the award. It popped up on Netflix. I knew that the Obamas had put their stamp of approval on it, but really nowhere is Obama, Michelle, or Barack mentioned. It's very minor titling. I was surprised by that. But it has their seal of approval. And the minute I turned this documentary on, the first thing I thought is, it's dramatized. I thought they had reenacted something, because you're literally inside the Chinese billionaire entrepreneur. I'm doing big air quotes because that exists in China. You're in his jet. You're flying around. You're very intimate, very, very, and it's a lot of subtitles because he doesn't speak any English. And very candid conversation. So
when you say the Chinese entrepreneurial billionaire like that exists in China, what do you mean? They are billionaires in China. There's more than there are here.
Yes, but you don't exist outside of the party. I think that's what I mean. You are a part of the Chinese party.
You're part of the system.
You're part of the system. So, yes, you're an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur for us means I'm bucking the system. You go against something, you create something new. This guy basically took a factory that built trucks and moved his car glass company into it. And the whole documentary is consistently, now they picked 6 Americans to follow. So they brought in 300 Chinese workers, and they, of course, live, 5 to an apartment. They work 14-hour shifts. They work 6 days a week. The Americans, the ones they chose, I felt were kind of schlubby. I mean, there was 1,000 American workers. The ones they chose, each of them had an issue. And so the contrast was continuously look at these workers and then look at the Americans. And then, the Chinese are pushing the Americans. It's like the shadow system where they have people supervising you. And the Japanese were very good at that. Now the Chinese are doing that. And they keep showing this dichotomy between the American workers who are like, hey, man, that's dangerous. We want a union. And then the Chinese billionaire entrepreneur is literally in this documentary saying, wow, they're just no good. They're overconfident. The American workers have received too much encouragement as children. They're lazy. They're out of shape. They're not healthy. They don't want to work hard. They have very odd cultural ideas. And then the other Chinese executives are saying, we can't even teach them. Their fingers are too fat. So it continues on like this. Then some of the executive management, the U.S. management is invited over to China, and they witness, company songs, the whole indoctrination. But continuously for an hour and a half, it's Chinese workers, great, high output, disciplined. American workers, shit. And this goes on, and I'm like, what is the message? Why is Obama involved? What is going on? And as you know, Obama was very friendly to China. He went over there right his first term, bowed himself down to his toes, and oh yes, and all this Chi-Com money came in. Everything was allowed. Just lots of stuff. It happened before Obama as well, but Obama definitely the promoter. And then in the last 5 minutes, it all came together. So this crescendo of American workers suck. They're no good. You should. And you heard the director say, we should unite working together. No. They go through this whole thing of how bad they are and that you see them shattering glass and making mistakes, all expertly edited and produced. I'm sure that it's not like that throughout the whole factory. And then at the last 4 minutes, it's like, well, these American workers are really no good. And then they unveil, take off, showing the billionaire who's once again come to Ohio to visit for this problematic plant, even says, you think I like coming here? It's a pain in the ass to come here every month. I hate it here. You should get your people in order. Get these stupid Americans to work right. And he says, no worries. And he uncovers 2 robotic arms. And then the movie starts to end. They throw up a title. By 2035, 283 million Americans will no longer have work because of automation. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Obama's fuck you to Trump. This is the, you can't stop it. You can't make Americans competitive. You can't have where's your magic wand? You can't have factories do well in America. It's all going to be automated and the Chinese are going to win. That was the message, and it was incredibly disturbing. Un-American and just, and of course they won the award. China owns Hollywood. It's handed out by an Asian guy. I think he was Chinese. Come on. It was really, really, really disturbing to see how we just were made to look like shit, and that China is the answer to everything, and that they're going to overpower us with their automation anyway. That's my review.
Wow. That's the best review you've ever done.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was dynamite.
Oh, thank you. Well,
I wish I had seen the movie so I could at least throw in a wrench, but it sounds like I don't need to.
It's worth watching. And again, it started off, I thought it was a reenactment. I'm like, what? I can't believe this. A documentary, you don't typically get that kind of access for anything. And literally this Chinese guy, the billionaire, is just, these stupid Americans, they can't do anything. They're just no good.
Huh.
Yeah, huh. So
all right, well, that's a good warning. Thank you.
I suggest everybody go take a look at that. And then while I'm on the topic...
It's on Netflix.
It is on Netflix. Well, by the way, there goes our opportunity for Netflix. That guy, that Curry, man. But it truly an Obama FU to Trump. That's really what it was. The Munich Security Summit is on now in Munich. And Nancy Pelosi is there. She's speaking. Of course, why wouldn't she be there?
Yeah, the congresswoman from San Francisco makes nothing but sense.
But what she's doing, though, she's doing she's away from home. She's doing her anti-China bit. This is regarding Huawei and 5G. And we'll just listen to her setup here.
Now I'm going to say something that may not be agreeable to many of you here because you invited candor, no lecture, but candor, and that is the subject of 5G and cybersecurity. China is seeking to export its digital autocracy through its telecommunication giant
telecommunications infrastructure, Nancy. Try one more time.
Threatening economic retaliation against those who do not adopt their technologies. The United States has recognized Huawei as a national security threat by putting it on our entity list, restricting engagement with U.S. companies. Nations cannot cede our telecommunication infrastructure to China for financial expediency.
So what's interesting about Nancy Pelosi doing this is she doesn't do this at home because that's Trump's message. So she's over there in Munich saying, well, and she can't even pronounce telecommunications. She's over there laying down the smack like all of a sudden she invented this China thing. I haven't heard her say anything about China ever since we followed her until Trump came along. And then it got interesting because some clearly high-ranking Chinese official stood up, woman, and she said this.
I'm from the National People's Congress of China, and I have a very good memory of your successful visit, the construction dialogue we had about the relationship a few years ago. My question is about Huawei. I think my knowledge of how the world works is that technology is a tool. And China, since its reform started 40 years ago, have introduced all kinds of Western technologies. Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, they are all active in China. And since we started with first G, second G, third G, fourth G, all the technologies came from Western countries, from the developed world. And China has maintained its political system. The system led by the Communist Party has become successful. It's not threatened by the technologies. How come if Huawei's technology with 5G is introduced into Western countries, then it will threaten the political system? Do you really think the democratic system is so fragile that it could be threatened by this single high-tech company of Huawei?
I liked her question a lot because it really said, hey, what's wrong with your system? Your democracy is so fragile that you can't handle our 5G. Well, we took your 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and we didn't change. No, we know exactly why. So how would you answer this if you were Nancy Pelosi?
I would say that to have a communications network that is covering the entire country, any country, that has ultimate backdoors and access by the Chinese government so they can spy on every single thing we do and every little message we send so they know more about us than we know about ourselves, that's a threat to national security of any country, no matter how big or how democratic or how anything.
Sadly,
that's what I'd say.
Yeah, sadly, you weren't there. Nancy Pelosi, the bag of bones at this. What are you doing there, Nancy?
Let me just say to you that are applauding back there that Huawei was created by reverse technology of American.
What she's trying to say is Huawei was created by reverse engineering American technology. But no, our representative from San Francisco, I don't know why she's there, but that's how it comes out of her mouth.
Let me just say to you that are applauding back there that Huawei was created by reverse technology of American initiatives. That was one of the main ways that they got started. We know the capability that Huawei has. We do not want to emulate the Chinese system. So it isn't a question of we have Huawei and we are a model, so why are you afraid of Huawei? We understand the power of technology, and and I've been tracking China for 30 years on trade and the rest of it in terms of intellectual property and the rest. And I tell you unequivocally, without any hesitation, be very careful when we go down this path.
This is the same Nancy Pelosi who spearheaded taking away the capability from the president to stop ZTE from doing anything in the United States. Two-faced, and shitty at it as well. Yeah, vote this woman out. I mean, if she doesn't die beforehand, I don't want to speak ill of her. But you can't be done? You can't vote her out? No, it's California. I mean, it is a canard. She is a canard.
She looks like a canard.
It's so bad that that's our representation during this.
Yeah.
What the hell is she doing over there?
Well, I don't know. Good point. I have one, so we can get this out of the way, because we do have to.
Yeah, we need to take a break. We have
to brief people about this. I want to get these two clips done. This is the campaign rundown done by PBS on what's going on, so we know who's what and what's what.
The 2020 race.
I'm sorry. This is clip one.
The 2020 race and the leading Democrats are moving south.
If we stand together as one people, we will not only defeat Trump, we will transform this country.
In a sweep through the Super Tuesday state of North Carolina today, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont aimed to springboard off his win in New Hampshire.
This is a campaign which uniquely is prepared to take on Wall Street, the insurance industry, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry, the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, and the whole damn 1%.
Shaking hands in neighboring South Carolina was Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. Absentee voting is already underway there. Warren lunched in Charleston with hip-hop artist Benny Starr. The map is quickly expanding. Warren and Sanders started the day in the East, and Sanders plans to be in Texas, a big Super Tuesday state, tonight. But most 2020 hopefuls are farther west in Nevada. Today, the next state to decide drew an all-star lineup of former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Vice President Joe Biden, and billionaire activist Tom Steyer. Buttigieg is hoping to maintain the momentum he got from the Iowa caucuses, where he narrowly edged out Sanders, and in New Hampshire, where he trailed just behind in second. In Las Vegas, Klobuchar criticized ideas for government-run health care by Sanders and Warren as too far left.
2/3 of the Democrats in the U.S. Senate are not on that bill, the Sanders-Warren bill. And so that's another reason. We're not going to pass it. Since we're in Vegas, I'd say if your number is not on the wheel, maybe you don't want to bet on that number.
No, that was the Bernie clip I was talking about earlier that I couldn't find.
Yeah, he's coming to Texas.
And he goes on, and he's that was actually cut down because between each one of his things, the insurance companies, there was a big round of applause. And the military-industrial complex, a big round of applause. And behind him was a wall of old farts.
Old smelly farts.
And they were shaking their fists like, it's almost like a group of people that were irked because they got none of it. Let's go to clip 2.
The calendar is driving the campaigns. The Nevada caucuses are in just over 1 week on the 22nd. Then South Carolina's primary is the Saturday after that. Then comes a kind of big bang for the Democratic map, Super Tuesday, when Democrats hold 16 contests and decide on a third of their convention delegates. That is the central focus for former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Now third in some national polls, Bloomberg is pointedly tussling with President Trump in back-and-forth tweets and at his campaign events, like this one in Houston last night.
The president attacked me this morning on Twitter, and he attacked me again this afternoon in an interview. So let me say this, Mr. President, you can't bully me, and I won't let you bully the American people.
President Trump also has his eye on a big map. Next week, he begins a campaign swing through Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and California. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
Oh, Lisa Desjardins.
We've got to get that voice. Bloomberg's got this, talk about a effete elite. He's got this kind of funny voice. He's very...
You can't bully me. He sometimes goes a little like can't.
It's a little bit like Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Such a thing. Yeah. Yes, I don't think it's just very, it's kind of. I don't like his voice. It's got a slight New York quality to it that kind of makes it better. But he sounds like a creep.
And he's a dog hater.
Is he?
Yeah. Yes, he hates dogs. And there was an article I had in the show notes, I think 2 shows ago. Whenever someone says, "Oh, you and your dogs," because they have 2 dogs, he says, "That's my wife's dogs."
He's not. I don't think he's married.
His partner's dog.
I think he just lives with a woman.
Julie. It's actually, you're right. He says it's Julie's dogs. I think Julie is her name.
I don't know her name, but she's taller than he is by a lot. And they've been hanging out. They hang out. He doesn't like gal pal. He doesn't like all these terms. I was reading about this. The guy's got all kinds of issues. He's got a yacht. He's got 6 houses, and they're all huge.
He has 15 houses.
15 houses. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, he's got 50, but the yacht. This is going to get. Oh yeah, he's going to represent me. The guy's got not only that, but it's a pretty good. It's not a Prince of Dubai yacht, but it's a pretty big yacht.
Would you agree that the mainstream is in some kind of irons right now? They can't quite figure out who to root for. I mean, they know they have. It's the money is Bloomberg, so they have to continuously bring Bloomberg in because he's doing gratuitous advertising. It's a bonanza.
Yeah, he's paying their salaries.
They love it. It's a bonanza.
This is the problem. This is why the No Agenda show is better. By the way, we don't have Bloomberg money.
That's for sure.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
We don't have Bloomberg money, but we do have some donors. And starting off with Josh Harbaugh in Middleton, Ohio, comes in with $100. And he needs some goat karma. We'll give you that at the end.
Yes, we
House
will.
buying goat karma. Sir Herb Lamb, the Earl of Georgia, 8008. Brandon Foster, $75. This list is short, by the way. Penny Mosier in Australia. You think you pronounce that? Mulia Binini? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's just crazy sounding.
You got me.
$67. She has a birthday shout out for her son, a dude named Ben, turning 30 on the 19th.
Yep.
Longtime listener.
He is a longtime listener on a donation program and has always shared very funny jingles and stories from your show. I thought I would try it late last year, and now I listen regularly. Ben is an OTG kind of guy, too, and has a flip phone, etc. Then he updated my computer and put me on Linux Mint. I'm very happy. Success! I'm very happy with it. When Ben was young, he's named Ben. Dude named Ben.
He's actually named Ben.
Installing Linux Mint for Mom. When Ben was younger, he was a great fan of The Goon Show. And I think you are quite like them with your jingles and sound effects and being so funny. At least I can understand you better and appreciate your media deconstruction, too. Well, thank you so much, Penny, and thank you, Ben. And The Goon Show, are you familiar with The Goon Show?
Yeah, it's an old British show that I guess was syndicated in Australia. A number of famous comics evolved from there into the single acts.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, excellent.
It's like proto Benny Hill, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
With more comics.
Hey, you got a good kid there, Penny. You got a good kid installing Linux Mint. Installing Linux Mint on his mom's computer.
Next up on the list is Sir Walwo in München.
Yes,
Munich,
he is.
Germany, 606.
He's the one that's doing the submission for the German marketing contest.
Bill Gress in Westland, Michigan, 5555. Best podcast in the universe, he says. Michael O'Mealy in Toronto, Ontario. He needs some jobs karma. I'll give that to you at the end. Mm-hmm. Sir Austin Barron of the Puget Sound in Seattle, 5150. Sir Chris Slewinski in Sherwood Park, Alberta. And he begins our $50 list. These are people that donated $50, name and location. Chris, John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Adam Morey in Middleton, Maryland. Michael Shambow in Topeka, Kansas. Vicky Ferris towards her damehood. Paul Dubois in Kerhonkson, New York. Wonder where that is. And last but not least is Michael Burlett in Odessa, Florida. I want to thank all these folks for supporting No Agenda with these producerships for show 1217. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to those who did donate. That was a very short list. It's one of the shortest we've had in months, I think. It looks pretty short, too. I always do it by file size. It's like, oh my God, we're not even hitting 80K kilobytes on this spreadsheet. But the people who did support us with our value for value model, thank you very much. And also those under $50. We actually had a couple who took advantage of the under 50 rule, $49.99, several who were there for anonymity, assured anonymity, but also people who are on our subscriptions. Please consider taking one of those out. It does help. In fact, it helps a lot. If everyone had a subscription every month, we could do a lot more content. But We love seeing the numbers. We love the numerology. We love our executive producers, associate executive producers, and everybody else who supports the best podcast in the universe. Thank you so much. If you'd like to support us some more, go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs and Health Karmas.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yeah, that's right. It is the 16th of February, 2020. Here's our list. Miss Jamie of the Highway says happy birthday to... I'm sorry, wrong one. Here we go. P. Hooper. This is a belated one. Says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Lisa Stelter. Was on Valentine's Day when she celebrated. Ron Tharp says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Christine. She turned 51 on the 13th. Dennis Garcia, 33 yesterday. Tristan Allen will be celebrating tomorrow. And Penny Mosier says happy birthday in advance to her son, who will be 30 on February 19th. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. No title changes, but we do have two Damings, and we love the Dames. The Dame Drive never stops. 2 Damings, and we also have 2 Knights. And I've got quite the list of stuff that we have at the round table, so I'm going to have
quite the sword.
Do you got the big one?
I got the Whopper.
Yes, you do. Up on stage, Miss Jamie of the Highway, Cara Bessesi, Daniel Tomash, and Dennis Garcia. Hello! Thanks to your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more, you get that coveted spot here at the round table of the Knights and Dames, and I am very proud to pronounce the Dame Jamie, Lady of the Highway, Lady Cara of Weekapaug, Sir Dude named Daniel, Knight of the Infinite Forgotten Wisdom, and Sir Deed, Data Janitor of the Noe Valley. For you, Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Sausage and Sauerkraut, Ribeye and Bourgogne, Pickles and Sticky Green, Steel Reserve and Black Milds, Geishas and Sake, Sparkling Cider and Escorts, Ginger Ale and Gerbils. And then the favorite that we always have at the round table, Mutton and Mead. Please pick up your rings. Actually, go to noagendanation.com/rings, and that is exactly where Eric DeShiel will pick up the information and get the ring and the sealing wax and your certificate out to you as soon as possible. And welcome to the round table, our new Knights and Dames. A special request before I go any further from C. Mike. He's a long-term producer of the show. He has 8 human resources he's keeping alive and needs some jobs karma. I'm going to give that to him.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
No agenda.
That's right. The No Agenda meetups. They're like a party. Quickie from there was a more or less an impromptu Tokyo meetup, which was held recently on the 12th in Tokyo. Several members of this is, by the way, from Sir J.D., Baron of Silicon Valley. Several members of the No Agenda Nation and peerage gathered in Tokyo on the evening of February 12th, 2020. The Knights and Dames in attendance included Sir Mark, Dame Astrid, the Duke and Duchess of Japan, Sir 3D, Knight of Osaka, and yours truly, the Baron of Silicon Valley. The assembled shared rounds of In the Morning, and thank you for your courage, as well as tasty cocktails and snacks at Dame Astrid and Sir Mark's amazing complex of books, art, and hip kids in Tokyo. Yes, they built this. It's like this, I forget what it's called, the T site, I think. Anyway, they showed them all the secrets. This is a huge, it's like a library, a meeting place, a place to get food, all in one. A very successful format they've made. Our Dame Astrid and Sir Mark showed the secret, how you can get to the secret sake bar by pulling aside a Chinese screen. There will be an extensive review at noagendameetups.com. And I'm glad that this all worked out because it was kind of a last-minute thing. He said, gee, I'm in Tokyo. Can you get me in touch with Mark and Astrid? And it worked out fantastic. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you for the report. And now we go to our Earl, Sir Dave Fugazoto, who did his meetup in Manama, Bahrain.
This is Sir Dave, Earl of America's Heartland in Saudi Arabia. I'm at the Sherlock Holmes pub in Manama, Bahrain for the most marvelous Middle East meetup in Manama. Unfortunately, I sit here alone and didn't have any takers today, but it's been fun in the meantime, just kind of hanging out with the heads of John and Adam. Great conversationalists as always, and it's almost like they're right here with me. Anyway, hope all things are well in the rest of the world at other meetups, and look forward to trying this again at some other location in the morning.
And No Agenda meetups are so cool. Even if no one comes, they're fun. Thank you, Earl Dave, for that report. Of course, he was probably still high from seeing the Yanni concert, so he's probably just so happy.
He's a buzz.
So he was buzzed. Here's an overview of some of the meetups you may want to attend if there's one near you. Actually, there's one happening today in South Minneapolis, Dr. Hammer at the Venn Brewery Tap Room. Monday, Fort Lauderdale, that'll be Rocco's Tavern. Look for the guy in the Spice Force t-shirt. Thursday, Kitchener, Ontario, Local 42033. Meetup in Kitchener at Moose Winooski's. Chris W. organizing for you. Thursday, the 20th, this coming Thursday, Magnolia, Texas, Local 667. Houstonians come for craft brews at the Lone Pint Brewery in downtown Magnolia. Texas Joe organizing. Then we have the Delray Beach, Florida meetup, 6 o'clock on Friday the 21st. I will be there. Tina the Keeper will be there. It's at the Saltwater Brewery. There'll be many people, many organizers. I think Crystal and David Culpa are the ones that ultimately are managing the No Agenda Meetups entry. Thank you for that. Brand new for Saturday, back home here, almost, San Antonio, at the Flyer Saucer on Hubner Road. Andrew White organizing that at 5:30. On Saturday, the Snow Agenda, Banff. I've skied there, actually. Banff. Meet on the slopes for the Snow Agenda. Details on the website, Josh Cox. And also on Saturday, Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's Jeff Tohig, who has been a supporter of the show. I believe he's a sir. And he just recovered from a motorcycle accident. And so he's back on the stick, so to speak. I've known the guy for, I think, 8 years. And since I've known him in like 2 motorcycle accidents, it's messed him up. So go check him out and say hi at the Sidetrack Brewery Saturday in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Springfield, Missouri, 2 o'clock, the first Springfield, Missouri meetup at Lindbergh's Tavern. Caleb Brinkman organizing that for you on Saturday. Also on the 22nd, Durham, North Carolina. Meet at the Briar Creek Beer Garden in Raleigh. Shrinking amygdala will leave more brain room for the thinky stuff is their slogan. Geez, Saturday is huge. LAX Flight 002 of the No Agenda. That will be in the LAX area. Meet at the Proud Bird on Aviation Boulevard. This is fantastic. Missoula, Montana, Local 406. Also on Saturday, their second meetup. Christopher Raymer organizing for you, Circus Media. And on Saturday as well, 3 Mile Island Evac Zone meetup. It's the South Central Pennsylvania Hillside Cafe in Goldsboro, Pennsylvania, near the 3 Mile Island. Matt Weaver is organizing that. And thank you very much for all the work that everyone's doing. If you want more details, go to noagendameetups.com. If you don't see anything near you, here's a crazy thought. Why don't you go ahead and set one up for yourself? They're great. They're like a party.
Sometimes you wanna go hang out with all the nights and days. You wanna be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You wanna be where everybody feels the same. It's like a party.
So I was remiss in not reading this note from Daniel Tomash.
Oh, okay.
Who you just knighted.
Yes.
Which I'll read now.
Okay.
I humbly ask for my knight name to be Sir Dude named Daniel, Knight of the Infinite Forgotten Wisdom. And he'll take sushi and pho at the round table if the kitchen can scrounge that up, and apparently they can't. Finally, it would be possible to get a little bit of moving karma, goat style. That would be amazing. My smoking hot wife and I are finally moving out of our studio.
Oh, very good.
So why don't you do that for him, and then we'll be fixed.
Yes, in fact, I will give him a special little addition there.
Oh my God, that is amazing!
You've got karma.
Now, before we get there, I only have the one ISO possibility, which I played very early on, which was this one.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
So do you have
Well, that's going to beat mine, which is not the ISO for end of show, but it's an ISO based on this clip. Now, I want to play this clip. This is the president's ability to run the DOJ. This is a big controversy on talk radio, left and right. The president came out with a tweet saying, I can do whatever I want. I could tell the DOJ to go, hang someone, and they have to do it.
I don't think he actually said that, but okay.
Well, he didn't say that, but that's the way you'd think he said. That's what you'd think he said if you listen to the left-wingers. But it's beside the point. He apparently does have the constitutional ability, and nobody really exploits it except apparently Roosevelt had 4 Germans literally hanged during World War II under these circumstances.
Really?
But but that's beside the point. It's this clip where this guy's trying to explain it, and this is Judy, and this is a guy, and I listened to his voice, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy's voice!" And I have a little ISO of it. He literally has a voice of somebody on helium.
Okay, clip first?
Yeah, play clip.
And we welcome both of you to the News Hour. So many moving parts here. I hardly know where to begin. But let me just start, Thomas Dupree, with what the president tweeted today, which is essentially that he has the right to ask the Justice Department to intervene in a criminal case. Is this something that presidents have done before?
No. In a nutshell, no. I mean, you may be able to find 1 or 2 instances in our history where presidents have directly intervened, but it certainly is not something that is regularly done. I'll say this. Look, the president, as a constitutional matter, is right. He heads the executive branch, and he has the power, if he wants to exercise it, to do it. However, there is a very well-established norm that governs the Justice Department, where I served, where presidents understand that they can't be seen as politicizing the Justice Department and allowing prosecutorial decisions be determined by partisan considerations. That's why you have separation. That's why presidents have respected the independence of the United States Department of Justice.
Sounds a little like Ben Shapiro. Has a little bit of that.
Well, he's a fast talker. I think that's what you're picking up. But listen to the ISO of his voice where he maxes out the helium sound.
That they can't be seen as...
No, come on. That's not from the clip.
Yes.
Really? Is it from the same clip?
From the clip.
From the same clip.
If you play that clip again and hear that part, which is right in about the middle of it, yes, that is from the clip. I will doctor stuff, and you can call me out, and I'll admit to it. This is not doctored. That is his voice.
We'll listen again.
That they can't be seen as...
And now back to the clip.
President tweeted today, which is essentially that he has the right to ask the Justice Department to intervene in a criminal case. Is this something that presidents have done before?
No. In a nutshell, no. I mean, you may be able to find 1 or 2 instances in our history where presidents have directly intervened, but it certainly is not something that is regularly done. I'll say this. Look, the president, as a constitutional matter, is right. He heads the executive branch, and he has the power, if he wants to exercise it, to do it. However, there is a very well-established norm that governs the Justice Department, where I served, where presidents understand that they can't be seen as politicizing the Justice Department and allowing prosecutors. They can't be seen as...
You're right. My God. Well, get him off the air. It's horrible. Get him off the air. It's no good. Horrible man.
And so that ISO is no good for the show.
No, it's not really. I think we'll use it.
And it wasn't meant to be. It was just to point out this crazy voice this guy has.
I do have just a crazy, off-the-wall, unhinged clip. If you're interested, I mean, it's completely show business driven, but it does involve Joe and Mika, so maybe you'd like that. Actually, Christina sent it to me.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you followed the controversy of Snoop Dogg calling out Gayle, Oprah's friend there. Gayle King.
Yes, I followed it.
Oh, so you followed that whole thing? Well, you might like the most recent Mo Facts, where Mo actually dove into it. And the real problem and what Snoop's issue was, is that both Gayle and Oprah have a history of going after black men and letting white men slide. That's really why Snoop was angry. Harvey Weinstein, a lot of people, they don't attack at all. Les Moonves, Charlie Rose, all these people they work with, not blah, 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 blah. But when it came to Kobe, so you understand it's an issue about these two black women going after black men, and that's what Snoop was so mad about. And that's, so neither here nor there. But what happened on Morning Joe with Joe and Mika, they did not understand the context, nor did I, honestly, the context of Snoop Dogg, what he was saying. He wasn't saying go attack Gayle, but, Gayle went into this whole, I'm getting death threats and I can't sleep. And then Oprah came out and said, it's so horrible, so horrible. And Christina sent me this. She said, Dad, this is something I think you probably fit in your show.
Where's corporate America? Because there are people
Where is corporate America? Where is Viacom?
Partnerships.
Let me say it again. A black female journalist fears for her life this morning. Her children are facing abuse and threats. And the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Viacom, nobody is talking about this. After preaching on a mountain for years about how dangerous it is when Donald Trump threatens members of the press. Well, guess what? I think it's dangerous when Donald Trump threatens members of the press. And I think it's dangerous when pop culture figures threaten members of the press, especially a black woman
doing her job,
who is only doing her job. You know what? We can have a debate whether the question should have been asked or not. We're so beyond that right now. We are so beyond that right now. What's the conspiracy of silence about, New York Times? Why aren't you writing about this? What about you, Washington Post? Wall Street Journal, where are you? Viacom, where are you? A black woman has gone to bed, a journalist, in fear of her life.
Wow.
There's your amygdala unhinged guy.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on here.
So, I guess she works on CBS, so
Viacom, yeah.
Calling them out. Big deal.
Holy crap, though.
Once you call out your own network, you douche.
Hey, there you go. That's going to do it. Affiliates, I hope you got the memo. We're running just a little bit late. But we do have some fab end-of-show mixes from Sir Seat Sitter. We've got Sir Chris Wilson. We've got Tom Starkweather. It's just a cornucopia of great stuff. Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. That is where you can support the best podcast in the universe. Were you scoffing? What did I just hear?
No, I'm just wondering why my network is crapping out on me all of a sudden.
Oh, well, it's because it's the end of the show. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas. This is the capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6 on the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday right here on No Agenda. Remember, support us, Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos! And remember, Grumpy Old Ben's coming up next on NoAgendaStream.com. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Adios!
Come on, everybody. You know the routine, it's Orange Man Bad Time. I'm gonna sing my song, which won't take long. We found another breeze, so we're going to impeach. Come on, impeach again, like we did last winter. Oh, impeach again, like we did last year. Do you remember when Trump had it coming? Let's impeach again. Impeachment time is here. Around and around and up and down we go again. Oh baby, make me know you hate him so. And then
Biden's going to win South Carolina.
Joe Biden's not going to win South Carolina. No way. Well, you know what? He is giving it a good old try. Yeah, this is from a speech he gave.
We don't feel no ways tired. We've come too far from where we started, and I don't believe he brought me this far to stop now.
So he's speaking to a crowd of ADOS, and where have we heard that before?
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
I don't believe he brought me this far.
I know the Lord ain't brought me this far so he can drop me off here. Did I make myself clear?
We don't feel no ways tired.
I don't feel no ways tired.
We've come too far.
I come too far from where I started from. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. I don't feel no ways tired.
But I think I'm gonna get the Wuhan flu because Bill Gates thinks bioweapons are cool. When a rich pedophile makes race-specific viruses, that's white privilege. White privilege, making AIDS and Ebola in the biolab.
Here's Hillary.
Is she going to do it? Maybe, she hasn't 100% closed the door.
But a Hillary run would be so delicious. Will it happen?
It's almost too delicious to believe, my friend.
And Ron, I think the key word here is not if she is going to run, but when.
She hasn't foreclosed the possibility. I guess she has not. That's what I'm saying.
Fueling speculation that she may actually run again.
Or I even think Hillary Clinton or Bloomberg or some centrist comes in here.
Could Hillary Clinton be running in 2020?
I'm not running, but I'm going to keep working and speaking and standing up for what I believe.
Hillary Clinton says she will not be running for president again in 2020.
They say the third time's the charm, right?
As I say, never say never. And I will certainly tell you I'm under enormous pressure from many, many, many people to think about it.
Is she going to do it?
Maybe,
So maybe there does need to be a rematch. I mean, obviously, I can beat him again.
So will she give us what we want? Another run?
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA. All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
You are listening to the No Agenda stream, where freedom lives and censorship comes to get its ass kicked.
The No Agenda Show with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak, live every Sunday and Thursday, 12 p.m. 11 Central. On NoAgendaStream.com.
I love your show. I think it's great. Other than that, I don't know anything about love because this is a pointless voicemail. And if you play it, I apologize to anyone listening.
Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Grumpy Old Bens. I am Darren O'Neill, coming to you live from a bunker deep in the heart of Middle America, just outside of Chirac, where there's finally snow on the ground and the temperatures are hovering around zero. Happy Valentine's Day.
And from America's left coast, where if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. I'm Ryan Bemrose.
That was a song, man. If you can't be with the one you
sure?
love.
Because I was pretty sure it was a Hallmark card.
It might be. I mean, they still make them. Unfortunately, instead of like 50 cents, 75 cents, maybe I think like $1, if I remember right, were the expensive ones, like when I was in high school.
Try $3.25 now for a cheapo card.
Like, that's not right.
Just has a stylized love on the front that you know, like the kind of art on the front of the card that is the stuff that you'd find in the reject pile on No Agenda Art Generator.
Hey, there's some good stuff in No Agenda Art Generator. Of course, this week was plagiarized, was taken directly from a t-shirt site, and that's a no-no. So somebody will get lambasted for that one.
Did you hear about that on No Agenda Social?
I did. Well, no, I heard about it actually on Twitter because, that's where the artists talk.
Oh, well, no wonder I'm not an artist. God, if that's the price of admission, fuck that.
And No Agenda Social is having some issues, I guess.
Well, sort of. Well, I'm having issues. Would you believe that?
No, never.
Do you really want me to start the whole thing with a rant?
I think so. I mean, it's Valentine's Day. Show a little love. And I mean, it's this again. We get how these things work. And I appreciate Aaroner, the guy that runs No Agenda Social. But I think it may be getting hard for one person to be in charge of a site that is getting that much traffic. It really has been growing. And as things grow, sometimes they move a little bit out of the realm of one person being able to handle it. But I mean, thank him for his courage. Thank him for setting this thing up. There's a lot of work involved. I don't doubt that for a minute.
So my issue has nothing to do with Aaroner. It has everything to do with the Mastodon software released an update. And, we've definitely spoken before on this show about my assertion that updates exist for the software developer. They're not for the user. The vast majority of users really just want their shit to keep working, and they don't want to think about the software that they're using to run it.
Right.
But software developers think about the software all the time. It's what they do. And so they think about, oh, well, there's that one feature that's not complete, or, oh, there's that one niggling bug that hits, 12 users out of the 100,000 that use my app. And so the software developers, because that's what they do, they develop, they're the ones who care about the updates, and they want to push updates all the time. And of course, partly an ego thing and partly a support thing where you don't want to support multiple versions. All software developers have the urge to make certain that the moment they're done with an update, everybody runs it the moment that it's ready to go. And the result is that users, the vast majority of whom do not give a shit about your update and just want their stuff to keep working and don't want to think about your software. We've reached a point where we accept updates and everybody says, oh, you have to update your software. And of course, the camel nose in the door is security, because a tiny percentage of the updates are for security. And yes, you definitely need to take security updates, but that's not what most updates are. And so Mastodon pushed out an update, which Aaroner dutifully applied to No Agenda Social, that completely destroyed my ability to log in on the desktop. Now, as a user, I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to read the fucking Mastodon code now to find out why. And I know that the fact that I'm the only one complaining about this means that it has something to do with the fact that I run my browser relatively secure and I don't let every freaking site on the internet run scripts and everything. But I'm pretty sure that the new Mastodon software just said, oh yeah, well, we need to use this library for some doorbell feature or some bullshit that nobody cares about.
I don't know. I think Mastodon may be one of these pieces of software that you've talked about a lot in the past that is released long before it's ready for prime time. And in these crowdsource things,
we are the beta users,
right?
It's the beta testers. They don't have testers. We're the testers.
So when they find a problem, they want to update it. I get it. But yeah, it's kind of, I know there was a problem about a week ago or so where anybody trying to post was getting a 500 error. I'm assuming this was all related to the same update that has locked you out, or maybe locking you out is, it's a feature.
It could be. Well, yeah, but, I'm still able to get in on my phone using an app. I hate apps. But anyway, yeah. So the screen that I get when I try to go to noagendasocial.com is, due to a bug in our code or a browser compatibility issue, this page could not be displayed correctly. Try refreshing the page. If that does not help, you may still be able to use Mastodon through a different browser or native app. which means that they've gone and either just straight up broken compatibility with the browser that I've been using the whole time because, fuck you, Sir Bemrose. How dare you use a browser that isn't Chrome? Or they're trying to bring in some JavaScript library that they download from Facebook or Google or some other site that you really should be blocking at the DNS level.
Which is possible, too. I've noticed a lot of sites where that happens now, where if you can't log in, you go and turn the pie hole off for a minute. Oh, now it'll log in. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that's how front-end development is done these days, and client-side development is nobody writes their own code anymore. They just go out and get a giant plethora of pre-made JavaScript libraries dynamically from everywhere. It's why, you go load a single blog article and you get 12 megabytes of data taken down to your client. It's because there's 300 JavaScript libraries that they have to download to your client just to display all the ads.
And
if you turn off JavaScript, the only thing you get is the text of the article, which I know is a terrible substandard experience, but it's how I roll.
Well, you roll in all sorts of odd ways. Progo in the troll room. And if you're not in the troll room when we do the show live Fridays at 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific, you're missing out. NoAgendaStream.com is where you can get in the chat room /troll room, talk to us during the show, and listen along live as we're recording the show. His question was, is Mastodon now a full-time job? And I would say not for people that are running it just for themselves or a few friends, their instance.
It's not even a full-time job for the people who are developing there. They're like, let's open up my IDE. Let's shit some new code out. Okay, ship it. Everybody else will test it. And if there's any bugs, they'll tell us.
But it is a pretty big time constraint for somebody running a site and trying to keep it up and running that has thousands of users. It becomes a lot more difficult. I think it was something that the original concept was every dude named Ben, every tech person in the world could run their own server and then give that to their friends and family, and then these would all federate. I don't know if they ever imagined things like No Agenda, and I'm sure there are other large instances out there that would have thousands of people.
We're not even a large instance.
I think that is. When you go look at the number of people on the individual instances and when all these things come in, I mean, I know Gab is out there, and I think that is Mastodon, but then kind of tweaked for their end. But overall, I think No Agenda is one of the larger instances, and it's one server, which again, there's your downfall there. There's no really fall over if one server gets DDoS'd or if one server kind of gets overloaded a little bit. There's not much you can do, but the technology is growing, and which each of these updates, we hope it gets better and not worse. But, at least it's a service. I'm glad you used an app. What are you using? Tusky on the Android?
Yes. I believe it or not, I actually have a custom build of Tusky. I stopped using the official build from the Play Store or wherever they get it, back when the authors of the app went full SJW and started doing shit like blocking Gab logins.
Yeah. Well,
and so what I ended up doing was I forked the code, and now whenever there's a fork, I usually just pull the new code and then remove all of their retarded SJW shit and then sideload it onto my the APK onto my phone.
Well, that's because you're a dude named Ben. You know what you're doing.
And because I like to create extra work for myself just based on principles. It's the best thing about it is, of course, I don't have a Gab login, so it really wouldn't affect me. I just don't want to be running their SJW bullshit app.
Well, it makes sense. And I hate this stuff when it comes down to all of this deplatforming and censoring and all of that. And we need to do another show on that at one point. I'm going to invite, I don't know if he'll want to come on the show or not, but I want to invite Dick Masterson on because he just was commenting again. He's a guy, if you don't know Dick, that has a podcast, was deplatformed, started his own Patreon, although I think he's still on Patreon. He has his own version of Patreon up for people that have been deplatformed. And he was there was a recent news story that one of these new laws in California, and I mean, I know they got a lot of them, was going to be a big problem for the YouTubes and these other platforms that want to be able to censor and silence people due to the fact that it's considered tortious interference with a business, because somebody's doing business on YouTube, they're making money, So if YouTube comes and takes you off the platform, they're hurting your ability to make money. Now, we normally would just think of this as you really can't do anything about it because it's YouTube's ball and they can do whatever they want. But it turns out there's a law in California that's making this way tougher.
There's a law in California, you don't say.
I know. There's a lot of laws in California, but here's the interesting thing. This law is, not that it should surprise me, because California is going completely socialist/communist, so it shouldn't surprise me that there's a law in California that's going after the big, bad tech guys, which I'm not saying they don't deserve to be gone after, but I think we all know that I'm very torn on this for various reasons, because I believe the big tech companies should be able to do business without the government interference. But then you also get this crap where they want to silence people just because they're, Christian, or because they say they don't believe in abortion. I mean, that
because
makes you
one of the only urges of those California socialists that is stronger than the urge to pick up apps and use the latest thing is the urge to make sure to tear down every instance of that evil capitalism everywhere, so that we can force everybody into the equality and socialist poverty. And we don't need a socialist rant on this show.
The government mothership. But in this case, there is a law in California that has to do with arbitration, that individual users, so if you get deplatformed, if you were, say, on YouTube, Sir Bemrose, and you were silenced or deplatformed, you could say that you wanted to go to arbitration. Well, here's the funny thing. When you say you want to go to arbitration, the company has to put up $10,000, YouTube, in order to start the arbitration process.
I think you read the same article I did. I loved it.
Yeah, this was Dick Masterson. That's the reason I saw this article. He posted a link to it. And it's like, well, if 500 people do this at once, that's $5 million. And that's a lot of money coming out of these pockets of these big tech giants. And we can only hope this is something that might slow down at least the deplatforming. I mean, we shouldn't ever need to have the need for a Mastodon type thing. I mean, it's nice to go off with people that you agree with and have a little closed off system like we have. I mean, it still is federated, but you have your own little community. You should have been able to do that on Twitter without fear that you were going to have people that were going to be deplatformed. So it'll be interesting to watch that
story that I read, and it's worth bringing up because there's some fantastic schadenfreude here against the particular Silicon Valley company. The story I read was about the company DoorDash, who they provide an app where they try to emulate the Uber model of bringing food to your house. And it's funny because we'll go into our local restaurant here, or, we have a couple that we're regulars at. And Dame Bemrose and I, we're so old fashioned that when we want to go out to eat, we actually go out to eat.
Yes.
But when you walk by the checkout register at the place, there's always a little tag or plate or sticker that says, DoorDash wait here or something like that.
Right.
Because now this app, DoorDash, has offered people a chance to order out their food through the app, and then somebody participating in the gig economy will go by the restaurant, pick up a to-go order, and then come and deliver it. Which is a neat idea, except that, of course, being a Silicon Valley startup who knows a little bit about writing an app and has a great idea, but usually not so good with some of the people parts of it, they've been in trouble before. One of the big trouble things that they went into was that when people tipped, because, of course, in America, we have a culture where we tip delivery men. Call that good or bad. I'm sorry, delivery people. Wouldn't want to misgender someone. But people in the US believe in tipping. So when somebody comes and brings you food, you usually give a tip. DoorDash would take the tip because, of course, you don't hand somebody cash. Nobody uses cash. What you would do is you would use the convenient button in the app that says, give a tip. DoorDash kept it and then docked it from their pay, which meant that when you were tipping somebody, it had nothing to do with the person who was giving it, who was bringing you the food. It was going all to the app. So they got into some real problems with that a while back. that wasn't even the problem here, but it kind of shows the attitude of the Silicon Valley company, especially toward their gig economy workers. Well, the workers got fed up with something or other, and they decided to force arbitration. The DoorDash contract has the standard forced arbitration clause that says you cannot class action sue us. You have to go into arbitration if you have a beef.
Right.
That's the standard clause that every fucking company puts in their contracts these days because they don't want to pay lawyers for class action and because arbitration is cheaper. Except that the DoorDash drivers, there are so many of them. They had like 5,000 people who were going to sign on to this class action. DoorDash came up and beat them with the contract and said, you can't go into arbitration, or you have to go into arbitration. They're like, okay, every individual one of us is going to force arbitration. And that's like $1,000 per person. And DoorDash is now looking at $10 million upfront in arbitration fees, even if they win all 5,000 cases. And so they appealed to the judge and said, hey, can we make this class action? And the judge is like, no, you put this shit in your contract.
Yeah, you started this. You started that boulder down the hill.
So I cannot muster up much sympathy for it. I mean, I do approve of companies trying new things and experimenting, and you got a great idea, go start a company, and that's definitely a Silicon Valley thing. But at the same time, the Silicon Valley culture of treating people like usable, consumable resources is getting a lot of them in trouble. And when you're shitty to people, you need to reap the rewards of that, and that's what's happening here. So that was.
Well, yeah, and a little tip would be don't use DoorDash, don't use Uber Eats, don't use any of these. It's a scam.
Apps.
Well, I know they're apps, and if you can, order directly from the restaurant. If you want the restaurant to stay around, because there's something that I didn't know, except that I know people that own restaurants, and the amount that they have to pay, and I think I talked about this maybe on a Grumpy Old Ben's, but I think maybe on a Random Thoughts, whichever. I'll repeat it because it's worth repeating. All of these individual apps, all of these services are taking between 25 and 33% of the total order. So if you order $100 worth of pizzas, DoorDash is charging the pizza place $33 to deliver it to your house. It's nuts.
And a lot of these places, you obviously remember back in the day, food delivery was a thing before apps.
Right.
A lot of these places will have a guy who is usually the dude who busses tables, but it's slow in the dining room, and you call them up on the phone. I know this. I know you have to talk on the phone. Millennials, you get over it, deal. But you call somebody on the phone and you place an order and you give them your address. And a lot of places, especially for some reason, pizza in America, they will just have a guy who's like, he works for the restaurant, and he will bring it to you and deliver. And then you pay him or her.
Right. The weird thing is when it comes to delivery is that, at least here in Illinois, I'm not sure how it is in other states. Usually we're pretty much similar to California and a few others. In order to be a waiter, waitress at any place here in Illinois, you have to be licensed by the state of Illinois. So if you're 16 years old, you're in high school, you just want to work at the pizza place on weekends, you have to get licensed by the state of Illinois. They don't do this with the drivers. So why is the 16-year-old girl that is going to carry my pizza from the kitchen to my table where her boss, everybody in the restaurant can see what she's doing with the food, she's out in the open, but somebody that takes your food, puts it in their car and drives it to you and does who knows what with your food, no licensing needed, no background checks. You don't know who's bringing your food to you.
I don't know. But for the sake of her job, you had better hope that nobody in the Illinois bureaucracy is listening to this, or they're going to close that loophole.
Well, they should. They should make it so that the delivery drivers have to be licensed as food handlers.
No, why is it necessary to have the government state licensing anything at all?
Because I don't want some random person who you can't be tracked bringing food to anyone. This would be a great way to be a killer.
You think this is a good use of sending people with guns to your house? Is making it so that people cannot engage in commerce?
I'd rather have them bring pizzas to my house. But
if people with guns are standing behind the person taking the pizza, it says you will pay for this pizza on pain of getting shot.
That would be a great pizza delivery service. We call it SWAT pizza, and we could just show up at your door, knock, pizza. You open up, and there's a bunch of guys with guns, but you also get the pizza, so it's a whole
experience. Tell you what, if that happened to me, I'd fucking pay for that pizza.
So you take cash? Yes, we do. I mean, again, I understand. Do
you take cash? Yes, we take all of it.
Yes, we'll be coming in to take all of your valuables with us. But it was just a weird thing to me that delivery drivers for these companies don't have to have, you don't know anything about them. They get to handle your food. That's always kind of freaked me out. But the business model itself, I don't see sticking around for long. One, because they take such a high percentage. The one guy that owns a restaurant said, well, yeah, if we're busy like on a Friday or Saturday night, we could just say no when an order comes in from one of these apps. And it's like, I don't get how that works, because then I would think that would just mean nobody would ever order from that app. And maybe that's what should happen. But the other thing I've noticed in the area here, we've had for years, it was the first one around, these delivery services for groceries called Peapod, and that is going under. Also, the couple other stores around here were using a service called Shipt, it's spelled in the usual fun way, SHPT or something like that. And I noticed that the larger store here has ousted them and is doing their own delivery now, because I don't think that these are sustainable business models. These were things that raised a lot of money and everybody went, yeah, this is the future, and then realized that it wasn't going to work.
Well, the Uber style business model is really difficult to create a long-term business on. The real benefit to it, at least the benefit to society, not necessarily to the entrepreneur, is that it starts to tear down monopolies by democratizing everything. Uber was the first. Lyft is another one where they started to tear down a long entrenched and highly regulated industry of taxis, which were not economical because there was only like the one company in town that was licensed to do it, and they started pulling it down. And tearing down old business models is the real benefit to this. But yeah, most of them will go out of business, and most of them should, because the people running them don't understand how to run a business. And that's the way economies work.
And it's not convenient. I mean, I don't know. Just the way I look at it is, there is a restaurant that we go to all the time. Had a big margarita there yesterday. Yeah, I could drive there in 5 minutes. How do you don't have a driver sitting there ready? Now, if it's somebody that's working for the restaurant, I get it. The order's made, the driver works for them, they bring your food to you. If it's not somebody that works for the restaurant, what if the guy that is going to be the closest one that takes your order is 15 minutes away? It doesn't work for me. It's not convenient. And then you're paying more. You have to, like you said, you have to then tip the guy. I believe what we're going to see is a lot of these restaurants using the DoorDashes and Uber Eats and all that, if they're doing business with delivery, and this is a way for them to dip their toe in, and that I get. But once they see they're getting delivery business, get the hell off the app and go to your own delivery driver. You have to be able to make more on that, because a third of the overall bill, that's usually the profit for a restaurant. Usually a restaurant kind of figures their food costs in thirds. So if you have a dish, if you walk in, let's just make it nice and easy. If you walk into a restaurant and you've got a $33 entree, most likely the food cost was $11. They figure $11 for overhead, staff and all of this, and $11 profit. That's usually a good rule of thumb. If you then say, well, your delivery is going to be 33%, the restaurant is making zero on those orders. So besides keeping their kitchen busy, they're not making money. And I don't see this being a long-term thing that'll work out.
Back in my day, if I wanted somebody else to cook for me, I had to get over the shut-in introversion and actually leave the house and go to the place where they had the kitchen.
Or,
and if I wanted food at home, there was these special places where you could get raw, uncooked, unprepared food ingredients and then take them to your house. And then there was a place where I could prepare a meal myself. And I get it that nowadays nobody has time, what with the constantly grooming themselves on their app and posting selfies and whatever the fuck else people are doing, that nobody has time to cook a meal anymore. But that's still the primary way that I get my food,
Same here.
because it's so much cheaper.
Well, one, it's cheaper. Two, the food is better. You have complete control.
And I know the cook, which means that I've got a pretty good idea I'm going to have it cooked the way I like.
I do. I'm the cook. I'll let this. I mean, we're talking about love and relationships today, right? Because it's Valentine's Day. I mean, we're getting around to that.
In theory, we haven't yet.
I'm the cook in the family. I mean, I kid because I don't want to wind up in the emergency room, and that's just slightly exaggerating. But after being married 25 years coming up here in March, I think my wife's made a good maybe 10 or 12 meals for over those years. I like to cook. I don't like to clean, so it all works out. But let's get into that whole topic and how technology and love and all of this thing in the digital age. But I want to break with our normal format here because I wanted to acknowledge a donation that came in via our P.O. Box, our brand new P.O. Box. So I'm glad this came in. It's P.O. Box 358. Hope I'm not screwing that one up. In Mokina, Illinois, 60448. It's an Indian word. But
and if you want us to repeat that, go to grumpyoldbens.com. It's listed there.
Yes, all the information you need is there. But you open up the envelope, and it is the infamous United Federation of Planet Stationery that we've heard so much about on the No Agenda show. And this is a donation from Sir Donald of the Fire Bottles, Count of Eastern Washington State, Spokane Valley, Washington. So he's in your area there. He kind of controls.
Oh yeah.
You have to answer to him.
I actually owe Sir Donald is he Count now of Eastern Washington?
Yes.
I owe him an apology. Because it's been a while that I was knighted on No Agenda show number 406. I want to say, might have that wrong. But it's been, many No Agenda shows since I was knighted. And then, I got my title and my lands back when there was I was probably in the first 36 knights. And then got my lands when there were only less than 25 total people who had donated enough to get lands. But then somewhere along the line, I changed jobs, got, ended up with a lot less money. And at the time when there's only 25 people, I was like, well, I'm the only Viscount in Washington. I'm just going to say the Viscount of Washington State. And I got it put up on the map as, Washington State was my protectorate. And then here comes Sir Donald of the Fire Bottles, who donates his knight, donates to every title all the way through, and now has donated significantly more than me and has a higher title. But he decided to be Eastern Washington. And I've never been able to get the map corrected because I don't think I deserve the whole state anymore. Right? Not when, I'm such a douchebag.
You certainly don't. You should probably go wash his car or something for him too.
I should. But, it's Spokane. It's cold over there.
Well, it's 5 degrees here. So, cold is relative. You can't really wash cars outside right now. It would just freeze.
It is currently at this moment, it is 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It is foggy, drizzling, and sunny all at the same time.
That's, at least it's interesting when you look out the window. That's a plus of living in beautiful Washington State. But I wanted to bring this up because, one, his note was just nice saying the P.O. Box helps. And you're absolutely right, Sir Donald. We hope that this allows people who want to. And he points out, we don't have to pay a percentage to anybody. It's the ultimate. You can't be deplatformed. Nobody's taking their 2%, 3%, 4%, whatever PayPal and Patreon and all these other sites take. And we greatly appreciate it. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I should have gone back to double check this, but I believe this is also the largest Grumpy Old Ben's donation to date at 123.45. So it's a complete honor, Sir Donald, and we're glad you're digging the show. And
I do believe we've gotten larger, probably from Baron von Walkman, but I probably shouldn't be comparing, because then all of our producers would start competing, and they're just going to start ratcheting up the donations. And I mean, we'd have an epidemic of Grumpy Old Ben donations on our hands, and I don't know if I want that on my conscience.
That's true. That's true. And yes, Jay Finley, Sir Baron, Walkman, I know he's had a lot of donations between the show and Elver and Random Thoughts as well. And we appreciate that. And also coming in today was our buddy Omaha, who sent in a note, ITM OMA, in the No Agenda Troll Room, just said 50 for 50. I mean, celebration. And we're happy we made 50. And do you feel like you're still being punked? I mean,
a little bit.
Is this a real podcast now?
But not necessarily by you.
By everybody else?
Yeah, or maybe by me.
By yourself? Yeah. You're getting over that hump?
Well, I still have self-confidence issues, you know.
Right, I know. And you never judge.
I don't. That would be wrong.
That would be completely wrong. So, I mean, thank you, Omaha. Thank you, Sir Donald. And thank you to Jay Finley and Fletcher, who's on a monthly donation, Keith Von Dyke, who's on a monthly donation, and all the people that have come in and helped us over these first 50 episodes. We hope to be around at least another 50 or so.
Well, we have to, now that we've been given all of this value in the form of our P.O. Box and the PayPal. We owe them some value in the form of a podcast. So do you want to get into our actual topic for the day?
I think we should. I mean, it's Valentine's Day. I mean, you suggested love as a topic, and I wasn't really sure where you wanted to go with that. It was
because, well, okay, so the thought I had in mind was we could look at what online dating has become and some IT things around that, because I figure you who have been married for 20 plus years.
Yeah, 25 years in March.
40 plus years.
Yeah.
And me who've been married for 15, online dating wasn't really a thing when you and I were searching for mates, which makes us the perfect people to talk about online dating now, because I don't know about you. I use all of these apps all the time. Except not.
Oh,
not
yeah.
Even a little.
I mean, it's interesting because I wasn't even aware. I hear stories all the time from my wife. There's a guy she works with that's in the, older and divorced and trying to date. And she's telling me that he's on Tinder. And I'm like, well, wasn't Tinder just literally one of these swipe and hookup apps? wouldn't have even thought it was a dating app. Is it being used?
As far as I'm aware, it's the biggest one now.
So it's the biggest dating app.
Yes. Well, dating, hookup, I'm not certain there's a difference, but I'm sure that people who are in the milieu would tell me that, obviously, actually.
Well, right. It's interesting when the online dating concept started. Well, it started before the internet. There was computer dating long before the internet, where people went to a service and basically filled out questionnaires, gave some information, and the magical computer sauce, the algos that were programmed in, tried to put people together that the machine thought would be a good match. Now, I'm not sure this is happening at all anymore, or if this is just literally going on. See a picture, swipe, start talking to them. And I don't know which one of those is better.
You want to know a dirty secret?
Sure.
Dame Bemrose and I actually hooked up via online dating.
Nice.
Now, there weren't online dating apps back then. There weren't smartphones, so there weren't apps. The online program that we used is one that is still known pretty well to people in the troll room. It's called IRC.
Ooh.
We hung out in the same chat room. Now, it turned out that we had met each other in physically many, many years before. We were doing live action role playing, but we were in different factions. So aside from hanging out of the game, after the game at Denny's or something, there wasn't a lot going on.
And you were the furry?
No. But we knew of each other. And then, like 5 years later, I went off to college, and then I came back and I moved out to work at my brand new expensive job at Microsoft and living in Redmond. And I didn't know anybody, and I didn't like I liked hanging out with the people that I was with, but they weren't the kind of people that I hung out with. Remember, I had just been at a fraternity, and these people actually cared about, productivity and getting jobs done. So there wasn't a lot of people I could go out and get drunk with. So
bastards.
I found some online communities, and ended up, getting really involved in this one in particular. And she was there. And then we found out that we had met years before. And then somewhere along the line, and this, by the way, should tell you everything you know about Dame Bemrose. I was the tentative one, and she was dropping hints left and right. And I, of course, am not picking up what she's putting down because I'm kind of oblivious about that sort of thing.
Everything was flying over your head. What was she doing? What were you missing?
Just hints that she was really interested in me.
Like, you should ask me out sometime. And you're like,
one day she opens up a direct message and says, I want you to date me exclusively. I'm like, oh. And that was how it started.
And
then a couple plane trips because she was living in Texas at the time. And eventually it all culminated in, I took a road trip all the way down there, drove down with just me in the car and drove back with her and almost everything she owned.
Wow, that's like an instant love connection.
No, it was 2 years later.
Oh, okay. So she knew you were coming to pick her up.
You didn't just like in the years before the internet. That is instant.
Yeah,
that's practically love at first sight.
And what year was this?
2004.
Okay, I will beat you with. I mean, I met my wife at. We worked
just
at a
married your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, well, that was we met in seniors in high school at. We worked for the same shop bookstore. Which is now bankrupt and gone. But there was the first girl I ever dated. I met in a local chat room when I was 16 or 17. So this is going back to 1986 or 87. So, that's about the extent of the high tech world of dating for me was, like 1986, 87. I mean, that's when things were hot and heavy, man. You had modems and you connected.
I think 1986, I was 10 and I was using BASIC to hack my first CD-ROM.
I believe that. You were already getting into trouble. You were a bad kid.
Well, yes. Well, back then that was when we got the family computer because computers were, 2 months worth of your salary in order to buy. And we got the computer for the family, and it took all of 10 minutes for me to establish that, no, it was my computer, not the family computer. But you guys are allowed to use it when I'm not.
When you give them the new access codes that you need to get on the computer. I get it. Yeah. But the online dating now just seems weird. I mean, again, the Tinder thing seems like you said, is there a difference now between hooking up and dating? What is considered dating has also changed immensely. I saw an article not that long ago that a lot of the millennials, because this is the group where it's going to happen, I think, would consider themselves dating even if they never met the person. Just strictly doing the online video chats, texting and that. One person may live in California, the other might live in Tokyo, and they're considering themselves dating. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, two people who get together 50 times a year, and one of them lives in Chirac and the other one lives on the left coast.
Right, kind of. I guess we're dating. This is like a bromance here on Valentine's Day.
Hey, we are more seriously dating, you and I, than a lot of these millennials out there.
That's very sad, isn't it? I mean, it's a weird thing. My wife and I were talking about this yesterday.
I think it's only fair after 50 episodes for me to tell you that you're not really my type.
Yeah. I don't like people with dicks as far as romantic partners. That's just one of the many lines that I'm going to draw. Just to let you know.
So what you're saying, you're not. Your Grindr profile is not well fleshed out.
No, it's not. Unless you set it up and I have no idea it's there, which is there's always a distinct possibility. Although I think there's getting to be more and more legal problems for people that put that kind of stuff up. But, you have to get caught first, and you're a dude named Ben who knows enough, so you probably wouldn't. So
it's legal problems are only one type of issue that you can run into. We can get into that if you want, but way before you run into legal problems, there's just straight up privacy issues.
That's true.
People putting things into their online profile thinking, oh, well, this will only be shared with my future mate with the the one true love that I have. And no, it's currently being shared with everybody who installs the app and also being shared with some massive online databases.
Right, which are going to be scraped and scraped and scraped. And I really don't know. That's what I said to my wife yesterday. I'm like, even if you asked me to guess right now, as far as people dating in that, let's just say high school through